is the Suckers.
Good evening, brothers and sisters of the Leaf, and welcome, everyone, to the Tuesday Night Cigar Club. Tonight, our beloved crew of drunken numbnuts circle back around to where this whole podcast nonsense started, almost 10 fucking years ago, in O'Brien's Irish Pub in historic downtown Temple, Texas, by finally and begrudgingly discussing the latest Expendables movie, Expendables 4. Wait a minute. I see that the movie's marketing team substituted the number 4 for the letter A in Expendables. So do I pronounce it Expendables? A little guidance here from my TNCC brothers would have been appreciated on that one, but they're probably 8 beers deep somewhere and wouldn't know the answer anyhow. And also this night, these constantly inebriated losers will review not 1, not 2, but 3 new cigar offerings from Steve Saka's Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust, all paired with a wide variety of, get this, adult beverages. Hey guys, how about drinking a non-adult beverage every once in a while? You know, like maybe break out a juice box or a goddamn glass of water. Oh, hey, I just got a text from Cade. Good timing. Apparently both he and Yak Boy are shit-faced at a nitty-gritty dirt band concert, and they want me to come drive them home because Yak Boy lost his pants and, of course, his car keys were in the pants. You see, ladies and gentlemen, this is the shit exactly that I'm talking about. Yeah, another text from Cade. He says they're actually at the Oak Ridge Boys concert, not a nitty-gritty dirt band concert, and it's his pants that are missing. No, Jesus, wait. And now he says they have both lost their pants, and he wants me to grab them some Arby's on my way to pick them up. I don't even live in the goddamn same state as these bozos. And Arby's? No frackin' way am I aiding and abetting another one of their horsey sauce chugging contests, as they call it, between those two. Anyhow, God, I just can't, folks. I just can't. I cannot do this anymore. It's gone. I'm sorry, where were we? I got a little off track there. Anywho, it sounds like we're in store for one hell of a good time, folks. So sit back, light 'em up, and enjoy the show.
All right. Are you pickle pricks ready to go?
Let's go. Let's do this.
Let's roll, Peter Cheese.
You know what? Let me take a little sip of my podcasting serum before we begin. Cheers, boys.
To your good health, gentlemen.
Oh, muzzle tov. I'm not sure I used that correctly, but yeah.
Hold on. Let me get one more sip of my podcasting serum. It's going to be one of those nights.
You never have too much serum.
Welcome, everybody, to the Tuesday Night Cigar Club, episode 169. Finally.
169.
169. I thought we'd never make it, to be honest with you. But we're here.
That's a lot of shows, man.
It is. And no, mainly Tut, I am not going to just be doing 69 jokes and cheesy 69 puns all night long.
I'm out.
Yeah, he is.
Because I already did that back on episode 69 and I used them all. So the well is dry.
Spent about 2 years in the 160s there, it seems like.
And because this isn't episode 69, this is episode 169, and that is a whole other animal. Tut, do you know what a 169 is in the bedroom?
No.
It is when a chick has a 69 with multi-platinum country western music singer / inspirational hip-hop artist Jelly Roll, and she foolishly elects to get on the bottom. And then she dies. 169, and just like that, she's dead. One and done.
That makes no sense.
Doctor, there's no recovering from that kind of internal structural damage to the human body, is there?
We should have stopped at 168.
Oh, God. Don't tell me you guys are Jelly Roll fans.
I'm not.
No,
I like that poor bastard that we made fun of in American Ninja or Ninja Star Walker or whatever. You make fun of Jelly. Go ahead.
Well, hey, speaking of spicy 69s, you just know there's some hot and spicy stale Cheeto crumbs involved in that Jelly Roll 69, am I right? Or 169.
How do you know he likes Cheetos, man? I think that's very, very presumptuous.
Theoretically, you didn't let me finish. Theoretically.
Oh,
it's theoretical.
they're okay.
Theoretically.
Oh, okay.
You got it there.
Well, look, we always like catching up on celebrity news around here, so I can't help but share this article I came across over at the Daily Mail UK recently. I think it's apt. The headline: Bryan Adams reveals the real and very saucy meaning behind his 1984 anthem Summer of 69, and Brand's fans quote thick for not realizing the truth. Get this. From the article, Bryan Adams has shed light on the real meaning behind his iconic 1984 hit, Summer of 69. Many believe the Sunshine anthem recalled the rockers' heady summers in 1969. However, the Canadian star has now revealed the truth. The singer, 64 years of age, admitted he was going to call the song Best Days of My Life, but opted instead to reference the sex position 69, something he previously stated fans would be thick not to realize. I always had my suspicions. He told the Sunday.
You know what? I'm sorry. I'm a little bit saddened by this because why reveal it now when you're what 67? Wait a couple more years till you're 69 and then release that.
It probably would have gotten a bigger, it would have reached a little more probably. He told the Sunday Times, well, I was going to call the song Best Days of My Life, but mentioning 69 felt a bit more provocative. Isn't this talk a bit sexy before breakfast time? He added. When asked about the best days of his life, he added, oh, the best days are now, always now. When I wrote that song, I was trying hard to imagine or fantasize what life would hold. But I'm there now, and it's great. Good. Glad to hear Bryan Adams is doing good.
By the way, Brian.
In 2008, real quick, he confessed, there's a slight misconception it's about a year, but it's not. 69 has nothing to do about a year. It has to do with a sexual position. At the end of the song, the lyric says, it's me and my baby in a 69. You'd have to be pretty thick in the ears if you couldn't get that lyric. He later said, I only ever wrote that title because it made me laugh. So there you have it. I actually reached out to Bryan Adams via his MySpace account to see if he'd record a new version titled Summer of 169 in collaboration with the multifaceted Jelly Roll for tonight's show. But as of this morning, I never heard back from either one of those guys. You know what? I swear, country music award winners and Canadians, bunch of fucking losers. Am I right, Yax? Yax is not here. Yak Boy's experiencing some technical difficulties. He'll be in and out as he's able.
Much like in a 69.
It's the best internet of his life.
Standing on your mama's porch. You told me it would last forever.
Yeah. No.
I always want to be there. Those were the best days of my life. It's really just kind of.
So did he get a 69 on his mama's porch? That sounds more like a Jelly Roll.
He said that standing to us, that he was talking to the girl of his dreams, standing on your mama's porch.
Yeah. Well, they weren't standing for long.
I don't think it was about 69s, man. I think it was about the year. I think he's being thick because he's like, you know what? If you didn't realize it was about a sexual position, you're thick. And I'm like, really? Because you released at the same time, Don Henley and everybody else was writing songs about the summer of love, the summer of 69. So why is everybody thick for it when you were releasing another 69 song just right in their coattails?
Was that your Canadian accent?
No,
So, when he says that lyric, sometimes when I play that old six string, I thought that was a guitar. This is one of the greatest songs of the 80s. It's a great rock song. I'm very familiar with the lyrics. It's giving new light now.
Yeah. It's a lot to digest. But
Tried to start a band, but we didn't get far. Boy, there's a lot going on here.
Well, this is going to be something I can tell we're going to be discussing for quite some time after the show. But in the meantime, also, boys, football season's here. I'm in hog heaven, man. We are in the midst of the NFL season, college football. Our University of Texas Longhorns here right down the road seem a sure thing at this point for the college playoffs coming up next month.
Hang on. You got the rivalry back.
You got the A&M Texas A&M rivalry game coming back, and
everything's on the line, man.
Let me just say this, because I recently went up to Ohio, and it was during the World Series. So when I was at families' houses, they were all watching the World Series because Cleveland Indians or Guardians, I guess, were in it, and I actually we had a big party, and I had to turn on the TV away from the party to watch the Longhorns play the Georgia Bulldogs. At the time, UT was ranked number 1 in the country.
Yeah.
And they got beat by Georgia that night. And handedly. And right there, as always these days, on the sideline is Matthew McConaughey and his leather jacket and his orange pants, and just mingling among the players and the coaching staff and just making himself at home. And I've got a theory on this, and I wanted to float it by you guys, see what you think. If they don't succeed this year, it's not going to be for lack of football talent. Sark's a good coach. I don't think it's going to be from coaching blunders or miscues. If they blow it this year, it's going to be because of Matthew McConaughey. He's cursing that team. And here's why. And especially Yax and Tut, you're going to know exactly where I'm going with this. Back in 2018, we were heading to Vegas to work the premium cigar trade show, IPCPR, now PCA. And we got very early, right as the Austin airport opened. And as we walked into the terminal for our flight to Los Angeles, where we were catching a transfer to Vegas, it was literally us and Matthew McConaughey and his daughter in the terminal. They were sitting there with their laptops. He was seemingly helping her with some homework. And I was like, hey, that's Matthew McConaughey. You can't miss the guy. And we didn't bother him. We didn't say anything to him. He's helping his kid out with homework or whatever. I'm not going to. So we sat there, and
Kate literally had to hold me down.
Tut is a huge Matthew McConaughey fan. He's a movie star. And there is something about when you see a movie star who you've seen on the screen for years and years in person. And
I've seen everybody in country music in the 90s, and I never got Gaga. But the moment I saw Matthew McConaughey, yeah, I got a little Gaga. I'm not too.
But as people started flooding in slowly into the terminal, everybody went Gaga. Everybody was whispering, there he is. Everybody snuck their phones out and took pictures of him trying so he couldn't tell they were taking pictures of him. Yeah, let me just take a selfie that has me not in it. It was something else. Then we get on the plane, and he's in first class, and people start asking the stewardess or the flight attendant, I'm sorry, showing my age here, if they could get his autograph. And I think he said, like, when the flight was over, he would sign something. He seemed, pretty cool about it. But anyway, look at how shaken up Tut was and all these other people at just him being in their vicinity. Now you've got an entire football team trying to focus on their game plan, listening to their coaches, keeping their head in the game. Oh, well, you've got 70,000 people in the stands also, as if that's not a lot of pressure for a 19-year-old quarterback. But then you look over the sideline to get your signals from Sark. All right, there's McConaughey. It has to screw these kids up. It's a huge distraction.
Hey, man, your theory might hold water on game one, game two, but it shouldn't hold water on game 16, year two.
It's an interesting point.
He's there a lot.
You
But I
see,
do agree with you. I do think he is cursing the team because he shows up on big game days and there's a little bit of a performance issue.
boys, there's an M in me, but there is not an M in the word team. Think about it.
Actually, there is it's literally the last letter.
See, this is the kind of crazy advice he's giving these kids.
I figured he was
Get it.
more along the lines of like, there's no I in team, but there is a me.
There is me.
I'm just saying.
Green lights.
I'm just saying. As I was watching the game, my cousin's boyfriend who played college football sat down and was watching something with me, and I was like, I got to ask you, man, would that screw you up if you were running on the off the field and Matthew McConaughey was there? And he was like, yeah, like that's crazy. And I'm like, yeah.
Well,
Anyway,
yeah, if you're playing up in Ohio, sure, where you don't get the movie stars. But here in beautiful Austin, I mean, suck it.
Mr. McConaughey to kick rocks and
Don't
stay the hell away from his team.
don't you get Matthew off that screen.
Oh, real quick, back to the news. We're talking about football. In the NFL, the Seattle Seahawks are a surprise team this year, doing very well under their new coach and QB Geno Smith. But it was this news article from Black Sports Online that caught my eye specifically, and it circles back around to the Longhorns in a kind of weird way. So saddle up, partners. Let me know what you think of this story. Headline: Seahawks Brian Murphy II says he's being extorted by trans woman who he wanted to eat his balls. Yeah, check this out. Byron Murphy II was selected by the Seattle Seahawks in the first round of the 2024 NFL Draft using the 16th overall pick. Murphy, a defensive tackle from Texas, was noted for his impressive performance during the NFL Scouting Combine, where he ran a 4.87 second 40-yard dash. That's really fast for a big man.
He's a big man, too.
Upon joining the Seahawks, Murphy expressed enthusiasm about working with new head coach Mike McDonald and fitting into the team's culture. He mentioned that the team felt like family, which has helped him transition smoothly into his professional career. That transition has been interrupted by a transgender escort named Miss Mariah Monet, who says that Murphy II owes her $15,000, so she decided to expose him on social media. Murphy II's agent released a statement saying he's being extorted. Recently, my client, Byron Murphy, was the victim of an extrusion attempt. I think that's meant to say extortion attempt from a text conversation that began and ended online. He had no physical contact with this person. This blackmail scheme has targeted other young players in the league. We have notified the NFL, turned the matter over to the FBI, and anyone involved in this scheme will be prosecuted. According to Miss Mariah Monet, Murphy II planned to fly her out to training camp so she could eat his penis and balls. She provided Instagram DMs as evidence. It's just a real quick text she showed from his authorized Instagram account. She says, let me know what, you know what? I'm going to have to get out my reading glasses. Let me know what the flight and my team we gonna be staying at the Hyatt Hotel, Lake Washington. So let me know. Oh, this is him. I'm sorry. So let me know them prices. She says, what day do I need to look for?
Well, I guess they don't teach English composition at the University of Texas.
It's really bad. She says, what day do I need to look for? To which he responds, I'm going to need you to eat that dick from the 20th to the 22nd. And then he followed that up with a separate text, balls too. He did write two correctly, T-O-O. So that's good. That's good. Yeah. Murphy II just proposed to his longtime girlfriend, Maya, making things even more complicated. Be safe out there, rookies. There's a 12th man joke in here somewhere, but I'm not going to even try to. I'm just gonna let that go. Yax, have you ever texted someone trans late at night and asked them to come over to the house and eat your balls?
No, I haven't.
Other Tut?
Someone hasn't lived, am I right?
You're all right, Tut. Other than not being able to reproduce, but experiencing far less anxiety when riding bicycles fastly, Doctor, what kind of potential medical ramifications are involved with having one's balls ate?
With having them ache or
Ate, A-T-E, eaten.
uh
He wanted her to eat his balls.
yeah, I don't know how comfortable I am answering this question.
Uh,
I
it's
would think if we're taking the literal definition of eat, it would be extremely painful.
yeah. I think he probably meant gobble up,
Well,
gobble up,
gobble is just kind of
gobble.
eat.
Just kind of gobble on them balls a little bit.
I mean, gobbling is still kind of the same as eating, isn't it? I mean, it would sound like you would get teeth mark. I mean, there's cutlery involved. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of variables here.
I don't know. I just know that no guys were talking about getting trans chicks to eat their
Like a
balls.
Bugs Bunny cartoon with the little napkin comes out, little.
Yeah,
I don't remember any UT players texting trans chicks to eat their balls before McConaughey came into the picture. That's all I'm saying. The guy's a bad influence.
Hey man, green lights.
I
Gotta
don't know
live.
to draw a conclusion from one to the other. I do wonder how old is your cousin's boyfriend that played college football? Is he a younger?
He actually just quit. He's like 20 or
Okay. Well, then that throws water over my theory. I was going to say that McConaughey, being a guy who's now into his early 50s or so, that maybe some of the college football players that are between 18 and 21, 22 predominantly don't really care as much because he's an older guy. I was just going to suggest that, but I guess that throws water on that.
I would think so, but he's in commercials every 5 seconds. I mean, the guy's a major star. I think.
Yeah, but every now and then you can catch him on campus.
Well,
every now and then you can catch him out in Austin. He was doing a film shoot with Woody Harrelson on South Congress, SoCo as we like to call it.
I got nothing
to draw a conclusion between his presence on the sidelines and the desire of recent former players to have their balls eaten, but it's an interesting theory.
Well, I basically set up a wall out here in the corner of Hope with Post-it notes and some visuals, trying to kind of tie a pattern of red string. I actually had to draw a set of balls.
Sure, that bothered you immensely.
No, it just took like 2 weeks. I'm not a good artist, and I struggled with the shading. But I'm also a perfectionist. Look, I got nothing against Matthew McConaughey, and I always root for the Longhorns as long as they're not playing the Aggies. So let's just hope they figure this out, and I wish everyone the best, including Byron Murphy the second, who sounds like he got mixed up in some stuff, and I wish him all the best.
Just own up to it, man. It's all right.
It just sounds like it was just texting, and no harm, no foul. I'm going to send you some pretty questionable texts a little bit later on, Doctor. I just giving you a heads up.
Well, that's been happening for a while. I'm ready for that. I kind of welcome it.
Hey, I don't know about you fellas, but I'm having a ball already.
A couple of them.
Hey, you guys ready to get nuts?
Oh dear.
Everybody's testicles.
Sorry, I didn't mean to get testy.
Oh. Well, folks.
You guys can't stand the heat and get out of the kitchen, brother. It's show 169 and I'm drinking the hooch. Doctor's outside barking at the moon.
I just like the text where you send it like, yeah, I'm going to need you to eat that dick on the 22nd and the 23rd around 3 p.m. Send. And then a little bit of thought. And then the other text and those balls too. Like just in case
pause.
I didn't want her to show up and just hit her with, Hey, I forgot to mention earlier, but I want you to eat my
Yeah.
balls as well.
Don't want to spring that on you as a
I,
surprise.
I want to make sure we're on the same page before I fly you in. And well, folks,
Didn't mean to hit you with a sack of unexpected nonsense.
uh, folks, what do we do? What we've done here on Tuesday nights for the last almost 10 years is we review and discuss premium cigars paired with premium beverages. And we also tie that and pair that to a feature film. Lately, we've kind of altered the formula just a little bit, but that's our bread and butter: cigars, booze, movies. Tonight, we are going to be doing something different. We are going to be featuring three different cigars, possibly two if Yax doesn't return. Um, all from Steve Saka, all released this year. I thought, hey, why not do something fun? Just split them up. We can tell the other guys what they're missing. Hopefully, it's Saka. He's my favorite cigar blender. So I'm very excited to hear what you guys think of those. I'm excited as hell to light mine up. So Tut, how about I introduce yours first? I know you're chomping at the bit to light up, so I'm gonna be sure and let me know what the aroma and the cold draw is on that bad boy before you set fire to it. I'm gonna go ahead and introduce it. Tobacco.
Tobacco.
Like
They don't call the number one media hat wearing guy in the business for nothing, folks.
I'm getting balls, heavy,
Sorry,
heavy,
it's just my it's just my hand. It's just my hand.
heavy, sweaty balls like they just ran a really fast 40-yard dash. You are smoking Tut, the Umbagog Bronzeback by Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust. The name is a lake, I believe, up somewhere in New Hampshire, I believe, where Steve likes to fish, the Umbagog Lake. Um, and the Bronzeback is a brand new variation of the Umbagog cigar. This is kind of like his budget-friendly cigar. It's long filler. It's not a sandwich blend. It is a 5 by 48. That's a Rothschild to be fancy about it. Connecticut broadleaf wrapper, Tut, which is the main reason I handed these off to you. It's right in your wheelhouse. Binder filler from Nicaragua. I'll say price point for later. And from Steve Saka's Facebook page, we get this background information. This is a long filler Umbagog Liga, but with a 2LS Connecticut broadleaf Kappa. Kappa is wrapper for all you noobs at home. The TLS is a designation for the leaves typically situated between the 1/3 to halfway mark on the stalk. They sit beneath what is called the mediums. This section of the plant produces wrapper with a different hue and flavor profile. Their color will vary from a paler brown to that classic Maduro hue, but there's really no way to know until you bulk in the pilones. Whether lighter or darker, the flavor is the key difference, rather than be those classic sweet, earthy, and cocoa notes exhibited by broadleaf. The two LS leaves typically give the smoker a slightly less sweet, but significantly more peppery smoking experience. There was a brand from the 80s and 90s, Henry Clay, that used this TLS Kappa exclusively, and it was one of my faves. So I'm excited to bring this alternative broadleaf flavor profile back to the market. Tut, you'll be the judge, the ultimate judge, who either validates Saka's excitement and enthusiasm for this new cigar, or you'll be the one who drops the truth hammer and shatters all of Steve's aspirations and demolishes his nostalgic wet dreams of the Henry Clay glory days. No pressure, Tut. You got the hat. You got this.
Well, I never smoked a Henry Clay, so I don't know exactly how it compares to that. I would say on the just smelling it right off the bat before the light, there's a little bit of some barnyard, a little bit more like hay, not manure or anything, but just hay. And then it's a lovely tea note. And then the cold draw is actually a lovely tea note. So that I thought that was kind of surprising. And then when I lit up, yeah, it's a nice pepper, not like I'm going to hit you in the face with pepper. but it's well established right there. There's also another flavor that I'm trying to search for, uh, but I can't quite put my finger on it. A lot of pepper, but it's not like a pepper bomb.
All right, we'll take your time. Yax, in case we lose you again, I'm gonna skip me for a second and get right to you. Yax, you are smoking the StillWell Star Aromatic number 22. It's a 6x52 Toro, Ecuadorian Habano wrapper, Mexican San Andres Negro binder. The filler is composed of Cavendish, Burley, and Virginia pipe tobaccos and Nicaraguan cigar tobacco. That's right. Pipe tobacco blended into a cigar, you say? What? The StillWell Star Aromatic number 22 was originally released 2 years ago as Dunbarton's limited holiday offering. It was then called the StillWell Star LE Holiday Y 2022. The blend was so successful that upon lighting it, Yak Boy vanished into thin air and never seen it again. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and finish this in case he comes back.
Yeah.
The only StillWell stick that we've officially covered is the Aromatic number 1. I reviewed that, I believe, last year, and it was crazy memorable. The pipe tobacco gave it a really unique vanilla Coke kind of flavor with some dark chocolate notes. I really liked it. Hopefully, if Yax comes back, I believe he'll be in for a treat. But hey, enough about that. Enough about that loser.
I hate to say this, just so close on the heels to our previous conversation, but on that retro hell, nuts.
What kind of nuts?
I don't know. It's more cashewy, but it's not like, a soft cashew. There's a harshness on the retro. And I don't mean harsh like it's not enjoyable.
Like
It
peppery?
just, yeah, it's potent and it's nice. But there's a distinct nutty flavor coming through through that retro ale.
They start calling you Tut Monet.
We'll start calling him soft cashews.
Did he say soft cashews?
Either one of those works. I mean, let's be honest.
So not hard cashews, soft cashews.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever had cashew peanut butter?
Yeah. No.
Cashew butter?
I think cashew butter.
That
It's
might
something made with cashews.
Yeah, well, I mean they've been around for a while. Okay. Well, so are you digging it? Or and it's super early here, but broadleaf, peppery, lots of nuts in your mouth. I mean, that sounds right up your alley.
Not only that, there's a it's really interesting because, and I can't tell whether it's the Guinness that's interacting with it or not, but there's a sharpness on the palate that's not quite leather, and this version of leather is not Indiana Jones jacket leather. This is like hard vegetan dyed leather. But I think that might be a little bit of the influence of the Guinness.
I'll get back to you in a second, Tut. I'm going to jump to mine now, the final cigar of the night, the Sin Compromiso Selezione number 4 by Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust. Here's this beautiful specimen. I'm getting a strong cedar. No, let me take off the cedar sleeve. That might be interfering with my. It is a 5x54 box pressed Robusto Extra. Mexican San Andres Negro Cultivo Tanto wrapper, Ecuadorian Habano seed binder, all Nicaraguan filler. Way back in late 2018, when Dunbarton first released the Sin Compromiso brand, Steve Saka wasn't happy with any of the test blends he had cooked up in the always popular Robusto size. So he just left that Vitola out of the brand's portfolio, which is a big deal. It's the number 1, I believe, or number 2 selling size in America. People love Robustos, and for him to not include it because he couldn't tweak it to his liking, I don't know, I think it's admirable. So he left it alone for the time being while vowing not to release a Robusto in the Sin Compromiso blend until he was happy with it. Skip ahead to 2024, 6 years, and he's finally happy with it. Here's what we had to say about the number 5 when we reviewed it back in 2018. Full-bodied while never teetering beyond the low side of medium strength, the Sin Compromiso is just a smooth, lush, silky, unique motherfucker. With A-plus tobacco analysis such as that, it's no wonder our expert opinions are held in such high regard in the industry. Back to reality. The Cream Dream that is Sin Compromiso number 5 was our number 4 cigar of 2018. So this number 4 has some big shoes to fill for sure. Let me light up. Since
By the
Yak
way,
Boys,
Mitzi, I don't know if you noticed, but he gets the Sin Compromiso, which is just nice, and I get the budget cigar. Did you see how that worked?
listen,
Well, you gotta be a team player, Todd.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Sounded like you were liking it actually before that.
I actually do.
He was liking it till he saw what I was smoking.
No, I actually really like the Umbagog, and I think that it's interesting that where I'm at personally on my individual journey, um, it's fitting the profile.
That's what I thought. That's why I selected it for you.
You liar.
I will say this. There is a lingering cedar aroma, but when you smell the foot of this thing, it is like you are jamming your nose up against an old leather couch. Like the leather,
Like one of those furniture stores you walk into with the long horns there and the cow
yes,
print stuff.
yes, the cow print rocking chair and the Easy Boy, and yeah, um, and the cold draw, very floral. Lot of dried flowers and a little bit of hay. Since Yak Boy is still experiencing technical difficulties, while I light up, um, why don't you go ahead and tell everyone what you can about your beer? Normally, folks, Yak Boy is the proprietor and handsomest bartender at O'Brien's Irish Pub in downtown historic Temple, Texas. He knows a lot about beers and whiskeys and all sorts of things that we know how to drink it, but he knows much better how to talk about it.
Let me cue my music up. Dun 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 dun. Yes, today I will be drinking Guinness Extra Stout. It is my comfort beer, and that's exactly why I chose it. Tonight we're going to be looking at some comfortable stars, but I didn't choose it as any sort of tie-in to the movie. It is just I was in a mood for Guinness. It's been a while since I've really gone on a Guinness bender, and it's my favorite beer. It's my favorite beer of all time, and so I'm like, forget the wonderful adventure of walking through craft beers and trying to pick out some winners or losers. Give me old reliable. Give me Guinness Extra Stout. It's just beautiful, creamy. It never fails, and it just looks wonderful. In the world of IPAs today, and where it's so dang hard to find craft stouts that aren't oatmeal peanut butter wizzy woos, just give me a fucking stout that's good, and Guinness does that every single time year after year, and that's why I chose it.
Well, I did kind of give you guys a very long leash, you and Yaks, this evening, as far as your beverages. Usually, we very creatively pair them, at least some of us do, with the film and the cigar, and there's a lot of effort and skill involved in our pairing process. But you know what? Tonight's a little different. So I said, you know what? Just drink what makes you happy. Drink drink what makes you happy. So that's what I had a feeling Tut would go for. And enjoy your Guinness, my friend. And I will explain here in a little bit why tonight's a little different, a little special. But hey, Yak Boy, you're back.
Yeah, finally.
Hey, what are you drinking, Yaks?
I am drinking from Symbol Brewing Company.
Yeah.
located in wonderful Carrollton, Texas. This is their Speakeasy pre-prohibition style cold India Pale Ale.
It's a long name.
A
It's a long
name.
name.
Is
I
that
like the way it's cold.
is that the actual name of the beer?
That is the, well, it is just technically just called Speakeasy, but it is the pre-prohibition style cold India Pale Ale. It's all spelled out right here on the can, right there.
Not warm.
See,
Not lukewarm. Cold.
yeah.
Well, the cold IPA style comes from the fact that it is a lager yeast, but it is brewed at ale temperatures.
Oh.
We'll
Okay.
pretend like that means something to me.
Yeah,
Oh,
you just
yeah.
totally busted me. That's what I was doing. Oh, okay.
Come on, guys.
Well, hey, this isn't my featured beer, but this is what I was drinking pre-show. It's a cryogenic frozen torpedo. I wonder if that's the same thing.
Well, I know that this whole cold style thing has come out here in the last few months, so everybody's doing one, like cold IPA, blah blah blah. So just trying to use to use the yeasts, different yeasts, get different flavors, that sort of thing. So, but no, it's actually really good. It is something I wouldn't normally say like with an IPA. I mean, while it is hoppy, it is also very light or lighter, almost crisp, like you would get from a lager.
Okay.
So
I'm going to make a tremendous amount of fun of it, but I really want to try it.
here's the kind of thing. I mean, it is an IPA, but it kind of looks like a lager. So
have you lit up your cigar yet?
not yet. I was
Okay. What?
Dealing with technical difficulties. So
Well, I didn't know when you're come back, so just so
but
you know,
I mean, I'd already tried it. And you were right. You last I had heard you were speaking about the pipe tobacco, and just on the aroma, the cold draw, you can definitely taste it. It is that, pipe tobacco. It just has that, you can smell it. It just smells so much sweeter. I mean, this one almost, it has more of a like a chocolate type sweetness just on the cold draw.
sounds lovely.
So I'm
well, let me know how it goes with the cigar as you move forward. Doctor is going with an old something familiar tonight.
I've grabbed myself several of these Maker's Mark Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. And that's what I am sampling
Doctor
here.
was on a plane flight.
Yaks, you ever hear of Maker's Mark Kentucky?
just once. I mean, nobody drinks it really.
I'm saving anachronism.
There was a Cats Fest where we drained, what's the big bottle?
Oh, the 1.75. Oh yeah.
We tanked a entire 1.75 in about 4 hours.
No,
that was even
quite
after
delicious.
drinking a Robert Holt's moonshine.
Yeah, that was one for the books. Yaks, does it I don't know what you're gonna tell us about it. It comes from Kentucky and it's delicious.
It comes from Loretto, Kentucky.
Yeah.
I thought you said Laredo, and I was like, what?
Yeah, my first time I was like, that's what I thought, but I was like, oh no, wait, that's a T, Loretto. Craziness. Been around since 1958, and most well known because of its unique bottle design by dipping the top in the red wax. But there it is, the red wax.
I've always wondered this about you, Doctor. I've known you damn well my whole life. Oftentimes when we'll talk and you'll be, quitting time at the clinic on a Friday and you're heading to the liquor store to pick up some sundries to get you through the weekend ball games and whatnot. You're a big fan of those little bottles. Why is that? Why not just buy the bigger bottle? Is it because with little ones, if you run out, you're out, and with the big one, you just keep going? Or
you nailed it.
Okay. That's the only thing.
That's called an alcoholic's defense.
That is how I would like to prove my maturation. In the old days, I would have bought a liter bottle of Maker's Mark and said, when it runs out, it runs out. Now I grab 5, 6 airplane minis and I'm like, hey,
I've got 15 minis.
I grab 30, 45 little bottles, and hey, when it's done, I'm fine.
It seems to work for me in my mental processes.
Okay, well, I figured that was it, but I thought I'd ask. All right. Well, that leaves one of it real quick. My cigar, very little spice coming through the retrohale, which is refreshing these days. It seems like everything kind of hits you with some pepper or some kind of spice through the nose, and this actually is giving me kind of a creamy, not super creamy, but kind of a dark chocolate kind of vibe going through the nose with a little bit of coffee mixed in there.
Yeah.
The cream primarily is coming from the draw. It's a very creamy kind of was it cafe a latte, milk and coffee, something like that. It's a very creamy coffee sensation. Did I say that wrong?
I believe it's Cafe Ole.
Cafe Ole?
Ole, yes.
Look,
you made fun of me and my airplane minis and alcoholic problems that I still.
Oh,
he wasn't making fun of you. He was just curious. I was curious as well.
Doctor, I'm just a Po Chinese boy.
Just a Po Chinese boy. Come on, Yang.
I thought you would want to be corrected, and then I am reminded of a Family Guy where Peter Griffin said, "Thank you, Meg. Everyone loves to be corrected." So I should have let that go. I'm apologizing now for my transgression.
It's actually a phrase I've never used except in cigar reviews. I write it a lot, but I think that might be the first time I've ever said it out loud.
So just a note, not to interrupt the Ole. But yeah, so the pepper sits down, and then we go into, it's still toothy, but there's a bit of bread, like not a toast, but almost like a right straight up bread, but it's got that heavy leather that almost leans into pine. I mean, there's like a little back end of pine on that the palate.
Okay, man, that sounds right in your wheelhouse.
But the pepper is set down, and it is. It's actually a really really good cigar.
Yeah, a lot.
My only criticism so far. I want this in a bigger ring gauge. I want this in a 56, 58. You know what? I'm not. I normally am not a big 60 guy, but I kind of wanted to see this in a 60.
All right. Well, maybe Steve will be listening and he'll make a note that Tut wants something big in his mouth.
All the soft cashews he can handle.
I'm actually making that note right now. I don't know when I'll need to reference that, but I want to have it in my archives. All right. Well, this one's like I said, is just a creamy with some, that dark chocolate, very, very minimal, if non-existent pepper. Just kind of a cream dream of a smoke. But that dark chocolate through the retrohale is really nice. So that leaves me, Yax. What am I drinking?
The Torpedo Extra IPA from Sierra Nevada. Yes, the Torpedo. That takes us back.
Where's my notes?
Goes all the way back. Remember the last time we had that on the show? Episode 2.
Episode 2, boys, is when, and get this. The reason I selected this beer tonight, when we started this podcast almost 10 years ago, this coming February, I was primarily a bourbon and whiskey drinker. Mm-hmm. When we would drink beer, I would still drink, just kind of whatever was handed to me, and, usually in lots, big quantities. I was not educated in the world of craft beer and the different beer styles. And on episode 2, while we were still filming at O'Brien's Irish Pub in downtown historical Temple, Texas, up on the balcony, we would pair our cigars with beers from the tap wall at O'Brien's. This was the first IPA I ever drank. On that episode, Yak Boy introduced me. He loved them. He was way ahead of me on this path, and it was love at first sight. I went from knowing nothing.
Love it first pint.
Love at first pint. It was, that sounds like one of those stupid Hallmark Christmas movies. Like, he owns a small pub in their hometown.
All I need is a marketing genius.
She's a big city marketing genius, home to take care of her mother, who's been stricken with an illness.
I like where you're going with this.
You do not know how many of those I've watched this week.
Starring Lacey Chabert and yours truly.
Stop talking so fast. I got to write this down. I got to sell it to them. Oh, wait. I think they've already got it.
People tell me I make the world's best beers, but I just don't know how to get the world to know about me. That's where I come in. Don't you have
time to hang out at your pub? I'm just way too busy to work. I don't have time for relationships. Work consumes me.
You have to get back to your big city ways.
You know
we
what?
do things slower and more friendly here in the small town.
It was love at first pint. Copyright 2024 Tuesday Night Cigar Club. And from there on, I tackled every IPA that Yaks would get on the wall. And then soon after that, we're talking, this is 2015. Guess what? Grocery stores, look, IPAs just started flooding the market, and I couldn't have been happier. And I over the last 10 years, have become an IPA diehard, an IPA snob, if you will. That's all I drink. I love them. Yaks told me I would, and he was right, as he usually is. And since that's where our journey, or my journey, started way back, who can remember the movie that we did with the Torpedo IPA?
Oh, I remember.
And I don't even think I was present for episode 2. Figure that out.
I just remember the triple something of the hops. I don't know. I don't have a clue.
Doctor, since you weren't there, I'll be most impressed if you get it.
I believe that you guys did Escape from LA.
No.
My second guess was Up the Creek.
Correct.
Okay.
Oh, the torpedo plane.
Remember the torpedo they shot?
Yes.
That's
I love that movie.
That was our tie-in, and since this was the first IPA I drank on the show, I figured I'd make it the last IPA I drink on the show.
The Creek.
I guess the cat's out of the bag at this point, because I just let it out of the bag. Yeah, this is our last show. So we're all kind of just drinking what makes us happy. And man, honestly, I'm not a big fan of this beer. I've had it a few times since that first time, and I like a lot of other IPAs better, but you know what? It tastes
all of that.
In the words of Matt Cade, that tracks. Somehow just makes sense.
I went with nostalgia tonight, and I'm glad it actually tastes pretty damn good. Yeah, it's just a really full-bodied. It's Yaks. It almost has kind of a New England malty, like New England style IPA. It's got a little malt presence in there, but it does have enough bitterness, which is what what latched on to me and what I loved about it. But I'm thinking this might be not so great beer with this kind of delicate little fancy cigar, but I just poured it. I've been drinking a lighter version of the Torpedo earlier, so I'll come back and let you know on that. But folks, that's our booze. Yaks, real quick, are you getting? I don't get a lot of pipe tobacco notes when I smoke those Stillwells. It's just there's a little sweetness, but otherwise it kind of acts like
he does a good job.
like a regular cigar, just with a kind of a little more, for lack of a better word, a little more kind of sweetness. And what are you getting off of this thing?
Well, besides that sweetness, I mean, it didn't really have like a very strong intro just on the light up, but on the retro hell, I mean, yeah, there is a noticeable pepper blast, but that's only through that I've gotten it. But for me, always with pipe tobacco, best way I can describe it is the same way you would probably describe when you have wine. You get like a dry red or something, that dryness. Pipe tobacco has always had that sort of, like I would just describe it as having like a dry flavor.
A dry profile. Okay. Is that what you're getting from that one?
Yes.
Okay. Medium bodied, not too strong.
Not too strong, but yeah, I mean, just on that, in the back of the throat, like, when you drink wine, you get that what you would just describe as dry is what I usually get from pipe tobacco, and I get that from this cigar.
Okay. Well, hey, speaking of cigars, Tut, you know who makes some pretty damn fine cigars?
I know exactly what you're talking about, and you're talking about our friends at Drew Estate.
That's right.
Because they
And
do.
Drew Estate has a stick out right now that y'all will definitely want to get your hands on. Following the resounding success of Drew Estate's partnership with Black & Whiskey on the Black & Cigars M81 Maduro to the Core back in 2022, Drew Estate has unleashed the new Connecticut shade wrapped Blackened S84 Shade to Black. A little play on Fade to Black, Metallica song from the Ride the Lightning album. The cigars are a passion project between Rob Dietrich, the master distiller and blender of Black & Whiskey, James Hetfield, Metallica's co-founder, singer, and guitarist, and Jonathan Drew, the founder and president of Drew Estate. Hetfield and Dietrich worked closely with Drew, a friend of Dietrich's for over a decade, to create the perfect blend for the cigar. The Blackened S84 Shade to Black takes aficionados on a nuanced journey with its deliciously smooth and inviting blend. Wrapped in a luxurious Connecticut Ecuador cover leaf, the consumer experience of this expression is distinctly different from the original, while still retaining foundational qualities of M81 due to the, get this, boys, we love this wrapper, Connecticut River Valley Broadleaf Maduro. Oh, I'm sorry, they use it as a binder, and Nicaraguan Maduro and Pennsylvania Broadleaf Maduro filler leaves. Holy smokes. James Hetfield of Metallica shares his excitement, stating, Shade to Black is... No, I'll just say it normal. Shade to Black is more than just a cigar for us. It'd be weird if he sang it, right? It's a celebration of passion and a tribute.
It's a celebration.
Celebration in the gyro.
A celebration of the craftsmen who strive for excellence in their lives. We reviewed this cigar back on episode 165 about 3 years ago. Little inside baseball there. And rated it an impressive 92. It's so damn good, it will almost make you forget about Metallica's Black Album. Almost. Yeah, they did that. Sad, but true.
Just like Jaws 4, it happened.
Hey, we're going to mention Jaws 4.
And yet it still remains unforgiven.
All
All
right, nothing else matters from this point on.
We just have all the shit songs.
I just shit all over this album, yet we're naming every song off this fucking album.
Hey, it's America, man.
That's true.
The fire pit. Boys, it's time for the fire pit.
Hey, can I lead off the fire pit?
I'll tell you, you didn't really contribute anything, as far as I know, to the fire pit.
I know. That's why I want to lead off.
Let me real quick, folks. It's time for that portion of the show where we do a roundtable wrap up of some of the things we've been viewing and reading recently, listening to, concerts, whatever. So that maybe you at home get your interest piqued and check out some new stuff that maybe you weren't aware of, or perhaps you were on the fence about soaking in. Tut, if you wouldn't mind,
yeah.
Let's start with you.
All right. Well, it's things have been tough in Tutland. It's school has been really. We've got a couple of classes that are some heavy hitters. I just did a freaking computer vision project that was analyzing football films for analytics, and it was choice, but it's so freaking hard to watch anything. I mean, the only thing that I've really watched is uh, Vox Machina season 2 that came out. Tracker, the new season of Tracker came out, but I mean, I don't have a lot of time. But I got a text the other day from one of my D&D guys, and he was like, "Hey, I'm going to be at Heinefall, and they have a guest pass if you would like to come out. It'd be cool to see you there." And I'm like, "What the hell is Heinefall?" And it's on LARP, live action role play LARP, and I went to my first LARP. This is a 5 day experience in Central Texas. It's camping. It's not like a Renaissance fair where you just show up in your Iron Maiden T-shirt. I mean, they get pretty legit on the whole. You know, you got to dress up in fantasy garb or whatever. So I did. I got my pirate shirt on. I got my kilt on. Got my little boots on. I got my little mug. And yeah, I went out there, and me and the missus actually got dressed up, went out there. We had a good time, man. It was really cool. These people were super super nice. There was free beer. I mean, not only free beer, but it was like free brewed mead. And I mean, how could you go wrong with that?
Yeah.
Plus, I know the guy who made it, and it was like sitting at a 16%, so it was pretty freaking potent.
Yeah.
And then like they had guy with a grill out there that was just making some meat sticks that were just phenomenal. But yeah, it was funny because everybody was walking around. It's basically like a D&D experience, but they were there for 5 days. We were there for like 3 hours,
Yeah.
and they're in character the entire time. It was just fun. It was I never thought that I would have. I never thought I would be a LARP guy, but at the same time, after visiting a LARP, I'm like, dude, I am in my 50s now. Why wasn't I at a LARP all along? I should have been LARPing this entire time. Anyway, that's it. I went LARPing.
At any point after a couple things of mead, did you walk up to one of the fair maidens and ask if thou would eat your dick?
I'm not going to confirm nor deny that.
And then you walked away and came back 10 seconds later, and my balls too. And
And my
and,
balls too.
and thou's balls too. Okay. Well, I guess if you're at a LARP, they'd be your stones, maybe.
Probably, yes, stones.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, baby. I'm gonna drop the drawbridge for you later. You want to
What does he refer to them in Clockwork Orange? Yarbles? I think
Yarbles.
Yarbles.
That's
Yarbles is
that's
nice.
why I can't go to one of these things, because at first I was going to make fun of you, and then I was like 16% ale, eh? I'm getting my Merlin robes out of the closet, but that's the reason I can't go. I'd be like, "Oh, fair maiden, perhaps after another tankard of ale, we could walk into the yonder Sherwood Forest, and you could sample my yarbles
Perhaps you wouldn't mind chomping down on Merlin's wand
and
One-
and
And novels too.
and my marbles.
and yarbles."
Oh, my bag of yarbles.
Well, I'm glad you had fun LARPing, Tut.
I did, and I look forward to going again.
Well, while you were LARPing, the doctor was reading. I know I've said it. I know I've said it a million times here on the podcast, but reading edifies the mind.
I've actually told you that a million times, but
These quotes are just things people say.
as Tut says, you've heard it both ways.
Yeah. And the doctor and I've got into this kind of world of I started it. I think I kind of went off the rails. I became a member of this Facebook group that focuses on film novelizations of the 80s and 90s and 70s. Actually, it's all film novelizations, which is, for you people at home that don't know, in the old days when they would release a movie, especially a big summer blockbuster, but also sometimes a smaller film, they would simultaneously release a novelization at the bookstore where the producers would hire a writer. Oftentimes, these writers used aliases and pen names, but they would go primarily off the screenplay and they would cook up a novel to accompany the film. And the great thing about them was because they were written as the film was being shot, they're often very different from the film you saw in the theater. So if you really liked a movie, you could pick up the novelization and actually get a lot of information that didn't make it from the page to the screen. There's really cool thing. And the doctor and I got talking about them. And I had heard that the novelization, doctor and I are huge creature feature Jaws fans. I had heard that the Jaws 3 and Jaws 4 novelizations were just bangers.
2 and 4.
I'm sorry, 2 and 4. They did not make a Jaws 3 novelization.
Why not, nephew?
I think the Lou Gossett Jr. people got litigious and write me a check, nephew. And they're like, nah, we just won't do it. It's fine.
I'm not going to be in a book about some damn fish.
So the doctor got on eBay or Amazon, eBay, and picked up, and very quickly I was impressed. Tore through the Jaws 2 novelization, and I was not surprised. There it is. He's holding up on the screen. If you're not watching us on YouTube, well, it's kind of late for that. But
yeah, I was about to say if you haven't been already,
you should be.
You're not going to.
And I was thrilled to hear that I was not misled, that the Jaws 2 novelization is, Doctor, would you say drastically different from what we saw on screen?
Oh my God, yes. It's actually somewhat shocking because it actually says on the cover, and this is one of the books from 1978, so it's a little dog-eared, but still in relatively good condition. Actually says based on the screenplay by Howard Sackler and Dorothy Tristan. So oh God, there we go again.
Sackler. sorry. He picked the wrong night for us to talk about his book.
Jeez, my goodness, poor Howard. Howard Sackler and Dorothy Tristan wrote the screenplay for Jaws 2 that was initially going to be shot. And so a gentleman by the name of Hank Searles, as Cade pointed out, we don't know if that's his real name, but generally these novelizations are not written by, I don't think Stephen King uses a pen name and writes them. They're generally written by somebody else. So he wrote this novelization, and it is, novelization. It's novel length. It's 291 pages. In paperback form, that was based on the screenplay for Jaws 2. Interestingly enough, for those of you that are Jaws fans and fans of the franchise, you will know that much like the original Jaws, Jaws 2 was a troubled production. It was pretty hard shooting on the water in those days with a mechanical shark. Spielberg obviously did not direct it. It was directed by a Frenchman named, I believe, Jeannot Schwartz. And he notoriously fought with Roy Scheider. Roy Scheider didn't want to be in it. Apparently he owed, this was back when actors made multiple picture deals with studios. He had like a deal with Universal to make 3 pictures. He had done one of them. He still technically owed them 2 pictures. They said that if he did Jaws 2, they would release him from owing them any pictures, right? So it would count as 2 pictures. So, and I always liked Roy Scheider, but he sounded like he was a little bit difficult, and trooper that he was. I think he got paid to $400,000 in 1978 dollars, which is several million today to do Jaws 2. It was a troubled shoot from what I understand. That screenplay that Howard Sackler and Dorothy Tristan wrote, that Hank Searles based his novel on, is, man, this novel is really about, I would say, 15 to 20% tops of what's in the movie Jaws 2, and the
Wow.
rest of it is completely different.
Even
Not
even for novelizations, that's a way
extreme.
that's
Extreme.
extreme. Yeah.
Uh, Basically, the book ends. It starts off describe and look, Jaws 2 is 1978, so there's no spoiler alert. It starts off with the beginning where the two divers that have their boat and they're out there and get attacked by the shark. They kind of explain that in detail. And so you think, oh, this is going to be similar. Then it goes into just it's a totally different story arc. And again, this is what the screenplay that they were originally going to shoot was. I mean, they had this thing ready to shoot. It was basically there's instead of the in Jaws 2, if you're familiar with it, they're building a hotel at the beginning. In the book, it's going to be a casino hotel. There's mob money involved. The town kind of had a bleak couple of summers there after the initial shark attack. Now it's a few years later, and they've built back up their tourism business. Things are starting to climb back out of the hole. Um, you know, it really gets more into that. There's a scene where like some out of town police officer like takes a pot shot at a seal on a beach because he's staying in a little cabin or whatever, and Brody arrests him, and there's this whole sub story going on, and then finally it kind of gets back into at the very end the teenage kids being on the boat. So that was like half the movie of Jaws 2. That's really like the
Yeah.
very part of it. So it's extremely different, which I hate to say this, but I would say it's probably only a book for fans really of the Jaws series. But just because it was, as I'm viewing it, and this is part of what you do when you're reading stuff, you have your mind's eye that it's, you're picturing Roy Scheider as Brody. You're picturing good old Murray Hamilton as Mayor Vaughn with his blazer with the little anchors on it. But otherwise, it's almost like this entirely separate Jaws 2 movie almost. And I found that
Yeah.
really fascinating.
Yeah, no, I can't wait to read it when I take it from your place when you're not looking. It sounds great. Um, and then because the original Jaws novel by Peter Benchley, there was a mob. The mayor was tied in to the mob on some things. Richard Dreyfuss's, Mr. Hooper, had an affair with Brody's wife, Ellen, in the
Ooh,
book.
that
It was
tracks.
it was a much different, inferior story to what was filmed. Carl Gottlieb and Spielberg really knew what they were doing by getting, we don't need the mob stuff. And Ellen Brody and her husband's relationship, when everything else fails, needs to be, strong. And, she's kind of his rock. And that's some of the greatest scenes in that non-shark scenes in that movie are of Brody at home with his wife and kids. And that would have been a completely different movie if they didn't stray from the source material. So yeah, I was glad to see that the doc wasn't let down. Now, he also picked up, as far as I know, Doc, you have not finished the Jaws 4 novelization.
I got Jaws 4 The Revenge, also written by Hank Searles. So it looks like he made some friends there. That
Hey,
one,
hey, Doctor, made some chums.
he made some chums. Yes. Uh, that one, so far, that one's a little more closely aligned to the movie, but I've kind of given up on it after about 100 pages. Maybe I'll
Okay.
maybe I won't, but yeah,
The only thing I was curious on that, I'd heard that there's a subplot where voodoo is controlling the shark. Somebody put a voodoo hex on the great white to
they've hinted at that. The other thing that they've actually gotten into, if you're familiar with Jaws 4, and I know you're out there. I know you're out there, you sons of bitches. Don't pretend you are.
it's not just us. It can't be just
Not
us.
just me and Cade. The character played by Michael Caine, Hoagie, who has a little biplane, in the book, he is actually a guy who does a little drug dropping. That's what he's got his plane for. So he's a little bit more of a nefarious untrustworthy kind of, or just, he's got his hands in some dirty business. And they do get into that. I believe there is going to be a subplot where a local voodoo shaman curses the shark and yada, yada, yada. I haven't gotten there yet. And
I think that's so interesting because I have a hard time reading novelizations after I've watched the film. I don't know, especially if they follow the film. There's only been a couple that I've really gotten into reading after watching the movies. I actually read the Lord of the Rings stuff after I watched the Peter Jackson films. Same thing with the first couple of Harry Potter books. I watched the films first. But yeah, it is interesting because Cade actually loaned me the Running Man, and I've actually started reading it, and it's such a divergent from the movie. But in this one, I was blessed that it was a divergent from the movie because even though I'm reading it with Richard Dawson's voice and I'm reading it with Schwarzenegger's, it's a different animal, and it's not to say that one's more detailed than the other or one's better than the other. They were two separate things that kind of exist in their own plane.
And,
be clear about this though, Tut. To be clear about that, Harry Potter books, The Running Man, those were original works of fiction.
no, I don't. I don't think Todd thought that Tolkien wrote novelizations of the Peter Jackson movie.
Yeah, no, I mean there's a difference.
After a couple more Guinnesses, I might.
The novelization concept is a really a different animal from normal literature.
Yeah, no, that. Well, first of all, I'm glad you started kind of digging in because The Running Man is so different than the movie that was made from it. Really, two completely different stories. One is a very nihilistic, depressing, to the point of almost agonizing depression.
Yeah. I love it. I love it.
And the other one is Arnold in a banana suit kicking ass, and thank God that's what it is. I'm glad we have both of these things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking over. I got a shelf out here in the Corner of Hope with a bunch of novelizations, and the worst thing a novelization can do is give you nothing but just telling you the movie. The Predator novelization that came out in the 80s was just scene by scene of the film, and that does nothing for you. Whereas one of my favorite novelizations was of the Bruce Willis Damon Wayans film, The Last Boy Scout.
Last Boy Scout, yeah.
Because Shane Black, one of the starred in Predator, but also wrote Lethal Weapons and Last Action Hero, and just a really sharp writer. He had turned in this allegedly just a brilliant script for Last Boy Scout that Tony Scott, the director, had left a lot out of the shooting script. And I loved that movie so much when I saw it. And when I read the book, it was everything that I loved was there, but also 40% new stuff that was equally as funny, equally as good as the stuff in the movie. And that, to me, that Last Boy Scout book was like the perfect way to do a novelization. Keep the flow of what you loved, because you're not going to read the novelization if you didn't love the movie.
Yeah.
So keep the key stuff that you love, but flesh it out a little bit more.
Yeah, give you more detail, more teeth.
Maybe even approach some of those scenes from a different point of view. In the movie, maybe it's Arnold. You're seeing everything from Arnold's point of view, whereas in the novelization of Commando, you're
looking at Sub-Zero have dinner with his wife and kids.
Exactly. But yeah, and then, well, Tut was LARPing. Doctor finished Jaws 2 and started another book. Hold on, Tut, are you going to smoke that other one after this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because you're grading this bad boy. I want you to get the full experience. And those cigars are so cheap. I just, gave you a bunch of them. Who cares? It's just a budget cigar. But Nate, you did real quick before I mentioned the doctor's other book. You were showing me as things changed in the start of the final third of that thing.
Not It hasn't really transitioned other than the strength is has engaged. It's full, so the flavors are right there. The flavors haven't really transitioned away from each other, other than like that pepper that you get at the start of it. It's not throughout the entire cigar. It sits down. It's still present, but it's way more muted. You still got that leather. You still got that little barely touch of pine, which is really nice, but it's really kind of forward on the palate as well. So it's a really hefty cigar. It's very toothy.
Full strength.
I've heard that. Yes, I think so. It's been able to not only go up against Guinness, but it doesn't let Guinness push it around at all. So I've really I really like this cigar.
I thought you would. That's the only reason I gave it to you.
Right, right.
Hey, I'm sin compromiso, my friend. I don't compromise. I just can't.
And I am Umbagago.
Well, hey, speaking of pepper, unlike the number 5, which we reviewed, and I've actually smoked some other blends or some other sizes of the Sin Compromiso. Here in the second half of this, well, first of all, I'm just like construction has been top notch. I did a small punch on it and it's burned. I haven't had to relight it. I've been watching you guys. I think I haven't seen many relights.
I haven't touched it all.
Most of Steve's stuff, not all of it, but most of it is made at Hoya de Nicaragua in Esteli, and one of my favorite factories. But dude, a little white pepper has started to show up on the retrohale behind a very present green tea. Some of that floral that I detected on the aroma has shown up. There's a little bit of dried flowers, but the green tea, like Arizona green tea, not hot green tea, but like an Arizona kind of green tea, mixed with that floral and then a little white pepper coming under it. Still a little bit of dark chocolate seeping in through the retro and the draw, but then on the draw you mix in that very creamy coffee sensation. Dude, I love this. If I could afford it, I would smoke these.
Yeah.
Man, this thing is just
that whole line has been really great.
I think when I was introducing the cigar, we previously said smooth, lushy, silky. That still applies. Only there's a little bit of white pepper creeping in, which is different, but it's just a very smooth, elegant smoke. I am.
Isn't that interesting? Because like he goes and gives you smooth, elegant, lush, silky, and the Umbagog it's not. It's toothy. It's rustic. It's it's kind of bold. It's interesting how he can have that kind of flavor profile. It's really cool.
I mentioned I just posted a review over on the Tuesday Night Cigar Club website. I reviewed the Sober Mesa, Steve Saka's newer Sober Mesa Brulee Wagashi cigar. And I mentioned in there that Steve handed me a pre-release Sober Mesa before he even announced publicly that he had started a new company. He was still at the very end of his NDA, maybe with
NDA, yeah.
But he came to Cats Fest while we were there. I believe it was just you and me that year.
Yeah.
And he handed me a Sober Mesa, and I couldn't believe that was going to be his cigar coming out of the gate with his own company, because the guy's known as the creator of the Liga 9 Privada, one of the most oily, beautiful, dark, strong, but refined cigars of my lifetime. And that's kind of what he's known as, King of the Broadleaf. And here he is starting his own company, and he comes out with not that. The Sober Mesa was very much not that. And we reviewed at least 3 or 4 different variations of the Sober Mesa, and we loved them all. And then he came out with the Micaritas, the blues, the reds, the stronger stuff. Then he went with the black, the Papa Saka, and the Saka Con, which those really worked for me. As far as
I love that Saka Con.
That Saka broadleaf, bully presence. And but that Wagashi was one of the best Connecticut milder smokes that I've had in years. Second this year, only to I reviewed the Rose of Sharon, Casa de Montecristo exclusive, and it's a bang. It's amazing. And yeah, the guy's at this point, not even 10 years old. His company has something for everybody. And if you don't like Connecticut milder cigars and you don't like, big, scary, oily broadleaf cigars, look what Yak Boy's smoking. I've got a pipe tobacco cigar that's going to give you some sweetness and some things that no other cigar in the market's going to give you. He's kind of, checking all the boxes slowly but surely. Yaks, is that Stillwell still treating you nice? Is it pairing well with the Speakeasy IPA?
Yes, it is. The beer has, just like I said, it's all the flavors in the IPA, but like I said, that lager yeast has really made it where it gives it like you would get from a lager. It gets that crisp, so it fits very well with this. And because, like I said, for my palate, that pipe tobacco, it gives you that sense of dryness, in that it pairs perfectly to me.
Good.
Crisp beer, but you have the balance against that dryness of the cigar, of the pipe tobacco.
I was actually worried about.
You had mentioned also, even though it's pipe tobacco, it's not overpowering. I mean, I can taste it. I can totally say that it's there, but it's not like it's a cigar, quote unquote, made of pipe tobacco. It just has pipe tobacco included.
Sure. Okay. I'm actually was worried about my Torpedo IPA with the kind of maltiness, kind of killing the vibe of this cigar. But actually, they're playing nicely together. They're kind of staying out of each other's way. They're like, sometimes you get trust me, I know. Sometimes you get a little wiener dog, and you take it out, and it gets saddled up with like a big a big muscled Labrador, and you're like, oh, this is not going to be good. And then they just leave each other alone. The lab doesn't know what the hell a wiener dog is, and a wiener dog really only cares about wiener dog stuff. So that's what's going on with my beer and my cigar. They're just, you do you, and I'll be over here doing
dynamite profile or dynamite pairing analysis.
Thank you. Well, I live in a house full of wiener dogs. It was bound to happen sooner or later. Doctor, I did want to talk about, you also then dove into a book, which I think would interest every man here on this panel, but also some folks at home. The name of the book is The Future Was Now, and it is a book detailing all of the, I guess, somewhat science fiction genre films released in 1982.
Right. Chris Nashawati, however you say it, he wrote a book about the making of Caddyshack. This one's called The Future Was Now. Mad Men, Mavericks, and the Epic Sci-Fi Summer of 1982. You can debate the genre. They do all kind of have sci-fi touches, but basically, and I'll try to be quick with it. Within 2 months, in the summer of 1982, you had 8 seminal movies released in the kind of sci-fi genre on a pretty wide scale.
Go on.
You've got your E.T., Poltergeist, Tron,
Jesus, man.
Star Trek 2, The Wrath of Khan.
You could totally stop right there, and it's a dynamite blockbuster summer.
We haven't got started yet. That's the lesser 4, because then you've got Blade Runner, The Thing, Conan, and The Road Warrior.
Oh my goodness.
All 8 of these movies get released within 2 months in 1982.
I'm sorry.
I
I
I
didn't hear
didn't
you.
realize that.
I didn't hear you. Did you say The Thing?
Yes.
John Carpenter's Thing. Okay.
Right. So yeah, that to me there's a, and so the author starts off by basically saying, so right there you could make a book about any one of those flicks, and I know he starts off by saying, and I forget what the exact date is. He's like June 25th, 1982. He says this was one of the worst day in the history of film critics. And he goes on to explain that that day, both Blade Runner and John Carpenter's The Thing were released, and the critics universally shit on those movies. And he said these are considered masterpieces of film. Now, some of us, I think I can speak for everybody here. I know for me, some of us, we can be a little bit snobby about it. We didn't come around to these things. We loved them forever. But he is right. He was saying that's one of the worst days in film critic history. They shit on those movies, and it took a long time for the video aftermarket and then for people to kind of come around. These movies did better in video than they did in the theater. And then people started going, oh, wait a minute. This is fucking fantastic. So he kind of starts it with that, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
But he goes through all of these movies. So just some really interesting anecdotes. I think all of you guys would love reading this book. I think people our age would love reading this book. I think if you are a fan of even just a few of those movies, you will love reading it. Like I said, the guy, I was interested in reading his books. I love Caddyshack, and he wrote a great book about the making of Caddyshack. So he seems to be kind of somebody that's really aware of that late 70s, early 80s period. He goes into, there's a lot to cover there when you talk about 8 movies, but he goes into the whole uh, build up, what leads up to it, where these filmmakers came from, and just, I mean, I know Cade's read everything there is to know about Carpenter. It seems like Carpenter, we've met him. Cade had a rather lengthy conversation with him. He seems like he's one of the coolest cats when it comes to talking to people. Like, this guy really thanked Carpenter. It looked like Ridley Scott and Carpenter really made time to be interviewed by this author and when give him all the stuff that he could give him. But he pretty much reached out to everybody else. But there's a lot of cool sound bites. There's just a lot of cool background information about how things came to be and what was involved in the making of the movies. Because when you look at cast and studios and directors, there's a lot going on there. And I thought one of the really cool things was like, they said that George Miller, they made Mad Max on this really low budget, and he thought it wasn't going to do good. And he said, and then it did good. And he said, but the whole thing just kept bothering him. He wanted to have more money. And he said, so Road Warrior was, even though it's a sequel, it's kind of he said, basically, it was the way he described it was almost like Robert Rodriguez's Desperado. I now had the money to do what I wanted to do the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good analogy.
But at that point, Mel Gibson had gone and done a few other movies that had been pretty well received, and he was starting to get some billing, and he was like, he didn't think that, he was unsure whether he was going to get Mel Gibson back, even at a raised rate. But I thought it was really cool. Like, this was Mel Gibson at the time. Is like, as George Miller said, I was shocked at his loyalty. I like gave him a call and was like, I'm going to try to talk this guy into it. And he said, Mel Gibson was like, what day do I show up? It was like, I wouldn't have a career
Awesome.
for you. It was like, tell me when we shoot, tell me when to be there. Let's go.
Awesome.
And
It's always fun listening to Carpenter talk about The Thing, because he's proud of all his films, but he was so confident in that one, rightfully so, when he put it out there, when he wrapped up Final Cut. And it's considered now by almost everyone as a sci-fi masterpiece.
yeah,
You're hard pressed to find anybody to say anything bad about John Carpenter's The Thing. And for forever, his kind of stock answer was like, well, what happened? Why did it bomb? It cost him jobs. He was in line to direct the Firestarter Stephen King adaptation that went away. Eventually, he kind of took the Christine job as kind of a bounce back gig. But The Thing, he was on a roll. I mean, this is a guy, Halloween, Escape from New York, The Fog, these were all hits. The Thing comes out like a wet fart and nobody wants anything to do with it. And you say that now with, I mean, to this day, it's in my book the most brilliant practical visual effects ever put on film.
And people were kind of grossed out by it. But it's interesting. You talked about the role he was on. One of the things he mentioned is that Universal gave him like an office on the lot. And he was like, I can get used to this. And of course, when the thing bombed, they kicked him out of it and tore up his contract.
Yeah. Well, but his stock answer for years, I was going to say, is what happened to The Thing? And his one word answer was E.T.
Yeah.
E.T. came out and everyone loved aliens. They're cute, they're cuddly, they're eating Reese's Pieces. And then Carpenter comes out of this movie where dudes' heads are getting ripped off with spider legs growing out of them.
They're eating you.
Dogs are getting ripped, their chest rips open with
just shooting at little tendrils shooting out of the dog. Everyone's
You
like,
know.
"Oh, look at that sweet husky!" Blah, 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 blah.
There's an apocalyptic end of the world factor to it. But there was one other thing he said where he said he went to a test screening, and he said this is when I was like, I went, oh fuck. He said he said some teenage girl like 16 or 17 comes up to him and goes, so I don't get it. Which one was the thing at the end? And he was like, well, it's kind of up to your imagination. And she was like, oh, I hate that. And she walked off. And that's when he was like, oh, fuck.
Big mistake. A nihilistic, depressing, unanswered ending. When E.T.'s playing next door. Yeah, he was screwed.
Can I go on a rant?
Yeah, I'll go. I'll vote you. You can do that. You guys?
All right.
I'm not exactly sure how coherent this is going to be, but I don't think there will ever be.
Just remember, you have the media hat on, so right now you're representing.
You've got to show some. You've got to respect. Cade's right. You've got to represent the media.
It's a lot of responsibility wearing that hat.
Not today. Not today. Yeah. Which is kind of not really my point, but I don't think that we'll ever see a summer of '82 where you have that kind of lineup, you have that kind of imagination, and think about the spectrum of all of that, and you have this just wide diversity of creativity, and I don't think we'll ever see that again. And I'm not
movies. They don't actually.
I'm not exactly sure why, because there's a little bit of a parallel to the gaming industry. So when the gaming industry of the 80s and the early 90s, it's kind of these mom and pop shops. It's kind of like these little small studios that are really putting out these wonderful products. And there's a whole range of creativity going on there. And then as we have corporatized, as we have consolidated, and fucking investment groups have bought up everything and consolidated everything, now your movies are all homogenized. They're trying to go to the biggest audiences, which means that there's not a lot of creativity there. There's not a lot of diversity there. They're only going to go after things that are known draws, and that's why you get all these freaking superhero stuff, and everything is so bland now. And it's the same thing that's happened in the gaming industry. You have these investment groups that bought out all those little studios, and it's basically all about generating profits. So you have to have this mass appeal, and when you have these mass appeal stuff, it's just not interesting, and there's no risk taking anymore. And so I don't think you're ever going to have that '82 where you have 6, 7 films that end up being transcending the time period and being like the foundation of those genres. It's sad. I don't.
You're proving the author's point. You're actually proving the author's point in fewer words than it took him to do it. He actually is saying that all of these movies came about 5 years later because of Star Wars. He said science fiction was this neglected thing. Star Wars makes a gazillion dollars. Now it was let's have sci-fi properties with aliens and stuff like that and people fighting with lasers and all this shit. And he said this inadvertently changed into what you're talking about. But when I say they don't make movies like that anymore, I mean literally they don't make them. Like I used to think it was pronounced Rob Bottin, but the guy said it's Rob Bottin. Is
Yeah,
that you?
Rob Bottin.
He made all that stuff in the thing with his fucking hands. On the Road Warrior, they're like, we're sending dudes to the emergency room every other week. He was like, this isn't green screen shit. We've got guys flying off motorcycles into the fucking. It's like they don't make the movies that way anymore. They don't. You try like Ridley Scott is going and storyboarding this entire thing. And like I didn't know about that until like Cade talked to me about storyboarding a long time ago. Like they literally don't make them the way they do now. Like what actually goes into the making of the film, these directors, these special effects guys, these stuntmen, the way that they made these movies, they don't make them like that anymore, literally.
Ridley Scott's storyboards for Blade Runner are more beautiful than any sci-fi film made in the last 20 years. Just his drawings, his storyboards. No, you're absolutely right, Tut. That ship has sailed, man.
Well, and I would say, like, what I always liked about The Thing, talking about just all the effects, but it's also not just all the effects, but it's the beautiful mistakes that happen. Like, when they're the creatures coming out and, it's supposed to catch on fire, but then the whole thing just goes up, which was not supposed to happen on the inside. And they're like, the guy's over there, like, it's perfect. And he's over there like, holy shit, everything is going to burn down. He's freaking out. They're still filming. And he's like, it's all under control,
Keep rolling.
What about that one sound bite from the audio commentary where when you see McCready throw the stick of dynamite in the audio commentary, John Carpenter's like, yeah, today that wouldn't actually be Kurt Russell. It would be a stuntman. He said, and it would be like a flare or whatever. He's like, that's really Kurt Russell, and that's really a stick of dynamite. It's like, and Kurt Russell's like, yeah, I just fucking flung that thing as fast as I could. They're laughing about it because like that's how they made it.
And if you guys are wondering if you should pour another drink tonight, Wilford Brimley starred in the thing, and he was actually younger than us.
He was 24.
Now to quote Wilford Brimley in the thing, I'm gonna kill you.
Stay thirsty, my friends. Well, I was inspired by the doctor's reading of Jaws 2. So much so that I watched a handful of aquatic creature features since our last show, namely 2023's Below, about a bloodthirsty bull shark targeting a bunch of horny, drunk college kids. What I've learned through creature features, not through any kind of actual marine science research, just from cheesy creature features, bull sharks are kind of the new great white of creature features because bull sharks are just as big as great whites, but they can swim in lakes and oceans. They can go back and forth between saltwater and freshwater. So there's a lot of bull shark movies, but Below was by far the best I'd seen in a long time. It's fun. It's often funny. It's an inspired flick that overcomes its minimal budget. And I enjoyed it quite a bit. I recommend you going and checking out Below. You're going to have fun with it. The same can't be said for 2024's Shark Island, which was pretty lame, as well as 2024's much anticipated sequel, at least by the doctor and myself, Bull Shark 2. Bullshit. No, that wasn't the. But those two movies suck giant orca dicks. I mean, don't go anywhere near those things. The first Bull Shark, the doctor and I enjoyed quite a bit. And I believe they actually did say at one point, like the mayor of the town, when the sheriff or the game warden's like, you've got a bull shark in these waters, and if you don't close down the 4th of July celebration, you're looking at a bloodbath. And the mayor's like, got a cigar. Bull shark. Bullshit. They didn't do that in the second one. They never said bull shark bullshit.
Oh, and I'm actually hearing that in oh crap, what was that guy's name? Buck something
Buck
from They
Flowers.
Live.
Bull shark.
Oh
Bullshit.
shark. Oh shit.
Bullshit.
Actually, Todd, I believe a good part of the first bull shark was filmed not far north of here, up near Lake Tioga, where Randy Travis has a ranch, I think. So,
Oh, is that
Okay.
right? Okay.
The bad thing about shark movies is that Trace Atkins has ruined all of it because now I just want Trace Atkins in every shark film.
bull shark, bullshit.
That fucking fish ate my daughter.
And now it's gonna eat my balls.
And now it's going to eat Byron Murphy II's balls.
And balls too.
Allegedly. Theoretically.
You son of a bitch.
Son of a bitch. I also, on Halloween night, I typically watch a film from the Halloween franchise, but the wife was oddly like wanting to hang out with me and was like, pick out a horror movie. Isn't there anything new out, a horror movie that we can watch that's not like Halloween 4, which you've seen, 750 times and quote every day of your life? I'm like, all right. I've been hearing a lot of good stuff about this movie called Long Legs. It was in theaters.
I saw the trailer or I saw the poster for it.
It was in theaters earlier this year. The trailer had a very Seven, David Fincher kind of gritty crime vibe. It starred Nicolas Cage and Micah Monroe, who we all loved in The Guest and It Follows.
Mm-hmm.
I was caught off guard by how much this film didn't work for me. Cage was just silly, not in a good way, not in a way that kept me. I was just seeing silly Nicolas Cage, and the usually impressive Micah Monroe was just flat and lifeless. Like she had no spark, she had no presence. Which I got to put that on the director because we've seen her provide those things over and over again. I also watched her recently in I think it's a Netflix movie or maybe Prime called The Watcher, where she moves to a European country with her husband. She's an American, and she kind of sees someone spying on her from across the courtyard. It's kind of a rear window kind of.
What was that? I saw the
Yeah.
trailer. That really intrigued me. Was that good?
It was good, and she was great
Okay.
in it. She's usually wonderful.
Yeah, that trailer really looked good.
It's good. That one was really good. But this whole movie, Long Legs, just struggled to get its feet underneath itself. And the end result with that enormous amount of talent, Nicolas Cage and Micah Monroe, it was just shockingly lame and disappointing. And pretty much sealed the deal that I'm not allowed to pick movies for me and my wife for at least till the end of the year. I'm gonna have to watch a lot of those Hallmark movies, Love at First Pint, to make up for my sins of Long Legs. It was terrible. It wasn't creepy and it wasn't believable.
You'll really love Lacey Chabert. She's a national treasure.
But I redeemed myself, and as this is our last episode, I want to leave you folks with two movies that I've recently watched. They would make a wonderful double feature. If we were going to do more shows, we would do a double feature on these two together. If not, we would do two episodes just focused on these two films. They're that good. So I was delighted to discover 1986's Stewardess School, streaming, I believe, on Tubi. Is there Tubi or Amazon Prime? This movie, Stewardess School, when I first bought a Laserdisc player, probably in '94, Doctor.
That's correct.
I was working at our local movie theater, and I saved up, and I was the only kid in our class that bought a Laserdisc player, and the only TNA flicks I could find, comedies early on were Virgin High, starring Burt Ward of Batman and Robin fame, and Stewardess School. And I must have watched Stewardess School because I was obsessed with this Laserdisc player, and I must have watched that Stewardess School Aegis along with the Doctor, probably Yak Boy, um, a dozen times over the next 12 months. And over the years, I'd kind of forgotten about it because I don't think it ever had really a DVD release, and it wasn't really, it just dropped off my radar, and I really regret that because watching it again, uh, it is everything we love about 80s TNA comedies. And it's a forgotten classic. It follows the Police Academy formula of rounding up a group of misfits and following their wacky sex-fueled shenanigans, trying to become stewardesses. And it features Happy Days Potsy doing his best, or no, I think he was Ralph Mouth, Don Most.
Yes.
Doing his best impression of Moonlighting's David Addison during the whole movie, because that was really on fire in '86. So he's doing his best. Do bees be? Do do's do? Like it's not as good as David Addison because it's Potsy, but it's got everything you want from one of these movies, and I love the hell out of it. Great music, great sexcapades. This flick has everything you need for a good time. So if we weren't closing shop here on the podcast, we would definitely be talking about Stewardess School because I would know that you guys would love it. I wouldn't get any kind of pushback. And then I followed that with one I'd never seen, 1985's Paradise Motel, which is a really fun R-rated TNA comedy that undeniably inspired the much bigger budgeted PG-13 classic Can't Buy Me Love, which came to theaters 2 years later in '87. I should say this, don't jump over to Tubi and accidentally click on 2022's The Paradise Motel. It is a completely different movie, and it is completely terrible. I've watched it twice. No, this is 85's Paradise Motel. It is fun. Doctor, I know you started watching it. It's just good. It's just good high school hijinks. A lot of hot chicks, a lot of partying. It's just these two movies, Stewardess School and Paradise Motel, are going to hit you just like Tut in the feels, and you will not regret it. So let these recommendations be our parting gift to our audience from the four of us. But these two films would make for an absolutely banger double feature. If we were still doing future episodes of the TNCC, which we are not, thanks to the all-powerful deep state that's pulling the strings of our corrupt federal government. Follow the money, people. Follow it. I'm just telling you kind of probably what you already guessed was happening here. Deep state, look it up. What? It's our last show. I can't tell it how it is. Anywho, no, it's not the deep state's fault that we're not doing any more shows. It's Tut's.
What the hell?
I just want to say for the record, I think the deep state is no good. Not a fan. And speaking of things that are no good, Yax, you've been watching some TV series lately that all look just horrible. CBS's Tracker.
No, Tracker's great.
And I think it's ABC's High Potential, starring Dee from Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yes, that's the whole reason why I started watching it, because I was like, "Ooh, I know her. What's going on here?"
I see trailers for these shows when I'm watching good shows, and I'm like, "Who's watching this stuff?" Yes, you're watching it.
Yes, you found out it was me, but no, actually, High Potential is American remake version of another series that's ongoing in France. Effectively, it's a mystery show. That's why, originally I thought, because I saw her, I thought like, oh, it's going to be like comedy or something because she, Sunny. But no, it's a mystery show. But she's the premise is basically that her character she's a genius, but because she's a genius, she's kind of a screw up. She really can't hold down jobs or anything, and she's working as a cleaning lady.
I can relate.
The police station, and she just happens to, like, as she's cleaning, she looks at the little murder board and she sees all their mistakes, and she writes up there in little red marker, like, it's all wrong, and she corrects it. And then of course they bring her, haul her in and sit her down and, like, we're going to throw the book at you. And then she explains to it.
Right
and
after you solve this mystery for us.
And I'm just like, okay. And it's quirky, but it's based off of a French show that's still ongoing. Exact same premise. They changed absolutely nothing. I looked it up and I watched the first episode from the French show, and I mean, it literally is like 1-to-1. They changed.
Bonjour, cleaning lady.
Yeah, I mean, it literally was that. I mean, like, the wardrobe is basically the same. They did nothing.
Okay. Well, hey, speaking yaks of high potential, Tut.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to say, speaking of high potential, Tut. And then I was going to bring up low potential because up until tonight, you hadn't given me anything for you to talk about. And I was going to kind of bust your bust your balls a little bit. I was going to be like, all right, well, let's.
By the way, Yaks, I'm right there with you on Tracker.
See?
No.
There. He was the original Green Arrow, Smallville, Justin Hartley.
Tut watched Expendables 4, which meets the bare minimum requirement to participate on tonight's show. So,
that is the bare minimum.
Yay, Tut! Yay!
Hey, Tut went LARPing. Tut, did you wear that media hat with your breastplate and medieval mace? And
I didn't. I didn't.
What? Oh no!
Hi, Jason. How are you? So I hear that TNCC is no more, and that makes me sad. And there's nothing sadder than a sad clown. Isn't that right, Jason? Hey, Jason. I'm going to have to come down and see you sometime. Is that okay? You mind?
That's fucked up. It's fucked up and not right.
Sammy, the clown. Oh my God.
Hi. How are you guys tonight?
Haven't seen you in a while, Sammy. How's life?
Yes, it has.
Actually, we're just doing a show here, Sammy. Hey, Sammy.
Yeah.
Do you know what new cigar on the scene is making everyone bang their heads in delight?
You bet I do. It's the new Connecticut Shade Wrap Blackened S84. Shade to black. Drew Estate's best thing, and that's no clowning around. Isn't that right, Tut? Isn't that right?
Oh, geez. That's right, Sammy. These cigars are a passion project between Rob Dietrich, the master distiller and blender of blackened whiskey, James Hetfield, Metallica's co-founder, singer, and guitarist, and Jonathan Drew, the founder and president of Drew Estates. Sammy, are you a Metallica fan, or are you a lover of heavy metal music?
Sammy the Clown mostly listens to kids' songs, the Wiggles and stuff like that, and occasionally some little turd music when it's time to get lit. You know what I'm saying? Jason?
Dude, Sammy, you listen to Lil Turd?
Well, it happens.
Well, the blackened S84 Shade to Black takes aficionados on a nuanced journey with its deliciously smooth and inviting blend, wrapped in a luxurious Connecticut Ecuador cover leaf. The consumer experience of this expression is distinctly different from the original, Sammy, while still retaining foundational qualities of M81 due to the Connecticut River Valley broadleaf Maduro binder and the Nicaraguan Maduro and Pennsylvania broadleaf Maduro filler leaves. Jonathan Drew exclaims, have you ever heard of Jonathan Drew, Sammy?
No, I've never heard of that guy. Who is he? Is he a friend?
He's the founder and president of Drew Estate.
That guy. Yeah, I know him.
Drew says, I just walked inside our humidor here at headquarters and viewed the new white blackened box sitting alongside the original black Maduro box. And all I can say is, wow, it's so in your face. I love it. The new S84 Shade to Black is a must try for any Connecticut shade smoker. It's like a deep, dark, rich Connecticut that's smooth as silky velvet, plush with triple plushness. Rob Dietrich, Blacken's master distiller, has been one of my best friends for almost 15 years.
It
Do you have a lot of
so good. It sounds so good. I can't wait to get some.
Do you have a lot of friends, Sammy? I'm guessing no.
No, down here in the dungeon, not many. Just me and some rats. That's about it.
Okay, well,
Sammy and I are going to hit the carnival on Saturday afternoon.
Oh, it sounds really good. Is there cotton candy there? I love cotton candy.
Well, hey, guys, Dietrich brought Hetfield into the mix, and JD brought Willie and the DE brand team, and he says the project's dope. We're having fun with it. I think, like JD said, boys, we mentioned the triple plushness in our review, if I'm not mistaken. It's a fantastic smoke, folks, so go grab you one. Sammy, do you happen to read our expert cigar reviews over on the Tuesday Night Cigar Club website?
Well, actually, guys, I don't. I tend to read cigar reviews on halfwheel.com. It's really the web's best resource for both the casual smoker and the industry players alike. I really like that website. You guys should check it out.
All right, bye, Sammy.
Bye.
That's messed up, dude.
He just did a commercial for Half Wheel. What the? Bye, Sammy.
Get out of this damn room. I got to tell you. Bye.
I love Sammy. I love when he shows up. That guy is just a pleasure.
He's definitely coming for you, Tut. He's going to be in hot pursuit of your ass on that school bus tomorrow morning. You better watch out.
I can't decide if I peed myself out of fear or laughter.
The important thing is you peed yourself.
The important thing is here, Tut, you peed yourself. Man, what a last show. Sammy showed up.
That's fantastic.
Folks, Sammy first made a surprise appearance. We did a movie called The Clown Doll like a couple years ago, and Tut has this irrational fear of all things clowns, and somehow he summoned his fear somehow manifested itself in the summation of Samuel the clown, and he's back, baby. He still remembers you, Tut. That's awesome.
No, it's not.
He said he
probably knows where you live and everything.
He said he just hangs out in his dungeon with the rats.
Yeah.
He doesn't have any friends, so he can just think about you, Tut.
That's awesome.
He sounds friendly to me, Cade. I don't see what the problem is.
Hey, I finished my cigar. How about you guys?
Yeah, I'm on to my second one.
Tut
I got a nub left, so.
Tut, I actually just lit up one of yours. You made it sound so. I thought it would actually maybe go really well with the beer. Sorry, I wasn't really. Sammy,
that was unexpected, but I'm really glad. It was good to see Samuel again. He sounds like he's in good spirits.
I have to reset.
Yeah. Hey, Tut, guess how much a cigar costs?
I have no clue. You say it's a budget cigar, but it's Saka, so yeah, I don't know. I literally have no clue. It could be anywhere.
I'm gonna tell you that this cigar costs. This cigar costs. Jesus. Oh, here we go. $9.75.
Oh, actually, that's pretty good. That's real good.
Yeah. Under $10 for what you described, and I'm already experiencing a lot of what I'm getting that crazy pepper blast at the opening. I actually got the pine way bigger than you did off the draw right away. Man, yeah, I'm excited to smoke the rest of this. But yeah, under $10.
Under $10 for that. Yeah, you can't beat that.
My sin
only Samuel could beat that.
He's beating.
He's beating
a lot of stuff down that basement. My cigar, the Sin Compromiso selection number 4.
Fucking clown.
Man, it was an elegant smoke with that creamy coffee draw mixed within that floral and the whatever the hell else myriad of nice delicate flavors I mentioned. That bad boy is coming in hot at $17.95.
Okay,
Which
that's from what you were describing and what I can remember of this in Compromiso. 17 is actually on the low side of what I was thinking of. I was thinking it might actually run up to 19 or 21.
I think the bigger sizes of the Sin Compromiso do get up there. This is the little guy, but I don't smoke a lot of Davidoffs because I can't afford them. But the way that the people over at the fine website Half Wheel describe how they smoke Davidoff cigars, it sounds like what I get from smoking the Sin Compromisos. A very nuanced, elegant, just refined, beautiful smoking experience. I think the Sin Compromiso is Steve's Davidoff, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't know because I'm not at Half
I was
Wheel.
just laughing because Samuel comes on here and like silent digs us against Half Wheel. That was nice.
I mean, he's right. They're the industry leader, right? No, I'm not going to deny that. They, Charlie does good work. All those guys do. Um, okay. Well, Yaks, you're what? Final third on that bad boy?
Yeah.
Has it maintained that medium bodied, a little bit of sweetness? You getting any kind of
It has. I mean, like I said, pepper is very dialed down, except on the retrohale still. But it has, I mean, towards this end there, I mean, of course, a little concentration. So I'd say it has dialed up on that. But that pipe flavoring has been just like I said, it's right there in the background, constantly giving me just that little bit of that dryness. Like, but I really do like it.
Okay.
Very simple. Very
well. Your price point,
like I said, ooh,
it's been it's lasted you
like 9.75 for Tuts. I'm gonna go 9, just 9 even.
Sir.
It's
You
15.
are. It is $15.95.
I didn't get that. Could you try again? By the way, if you
I don't.
What's
Are you
Samuel
checking the
doing over
internet
there?
for
No, that
pricing
was
right now?
that was my Siri on my phone, which I thought I had turned off. She had something to say about things. Oh my
All
God,
this time, are your phones off?
it is off. I think Samuel might be
He's got special powers.
got special powers. He made Tut pee himself.
Dude, I'm not going to be able to go to sleep tonight.
Well,
He lives in a dungeon
that's
through your hall
Yaks,
closet. Don't
Yaks,
worry about it.
Yaks. That is the least comforting opening sentence ever for someone who's trying to comfort somebody. Hey, Tut, relax. The guy you're afraid of lives in a dungeon with rats. You're going to be fine.
The way you said it, though, just that tone of voice. Hey, look, he lives in a dungeon. It's okay.
Did you see a little doll he had?
Yes.
Man, he's got a hard on for Tut. Well, folks, it sounds like we've all enjoyed our Steve Saka creations. I'll pipe in here to Tut. If you get anything same or different in the second smoke, same with you, Yaks. When you light up the other StillWell, let me know. So far, Tut, I'm right with you on this with the pepper and the pine. Man, it's a little banger of a stick. And I shifted to the torpedo. I got a multi-pack. The Atomic Torpedo 9.2% IPA, way maltier, way stronger, and I think this cigar is the one to pair with that. So I think we're doing good. Well, folks, the final installment of what we do here is going to be a little different tonight. The film we selected for our last show, or I selected for our last show, the Expendables, 2024. They replaced the A in Expendables with the number 4. So, do you guys want me to say Expendables 4 or extend?
Just Expendables 4.
Expendables.
Expendables.
I prefer the 4th Expendables.
Oh, Jesus, that's 3 different answers. I can't make you guys all happy.
Tut, that's what you say at the next LARP outing. Would you like to take a walk down by the River Thames and look at my Expendables? No, okay.
Was that a Byron Murphy II joke?
No.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Sammy was sending me some stuff. I think he might be after me now. Damn it. The film's screenplay was written by a bunch of dudes. The one guy I'll mention will give you an idea of what you're in store for here. His name's Kurt Wimmer, who wrote both the useless Total Recall and Point Break remakes a few years ago. He wrote both those pieces of shit. Expendables, the 4th Expendables film, otherwise known as Expendables 4, was directed by someone named Scott Waugh, whose only directorial credit I recognized was 2014's video game adaptation of Need for Speed, which was about illegal street racing, not Tut's brutal amphetamine addiction while out on the Trappist Trit tour in the mid-90s. He's so proud of it. Fuck yeah, I was there.
I survived.
I fucking lived, damn it. I lived. All of this shows you with this creative team just how much pride and care they were willing to put into the Expendables franchise.
It shows you how much money Stallone was willing to pay. That's all it is.
That is to no care or pride whatsoever. Talk about the Unreliables. These guys are it. We have a long history with this franchise, folks. I'm going to embed our short film, The Unreliables, on the episode page. Before we actually started this thing back in 2015, we got out the cameras just on a whim to have some fun, and we did a old school spoof of the first Unreliables movie, the first Expendables movie, or as Cody calls it, the first entry in the Expendables franchise, where we made brutal fun of a movie that we loved dearly, and we just kind of twisted it on its head and made fun of it. So that'll be there on the episode page, but let's start at the beginning here. I'm going to do this super fast. First Expendables movie was a throwback to the classic 80s action formula. It was stocked with not only 80s action staples such as Arnold, Sylvester Stallone, Dolph Lundgren. They also brought in new current bloods, Stone Cold Steve Austin. They made an inspired casting choice for their main villain of Eric Roberts, who, if you give him a decent script, the guy is a phenomenal actor.
They'll chew it up.
He didn't treat this like Sharktopus. He treated this like something that he actually gave a shit about and respected. And I saw it twice in the theater. I think both times with Yak Boy, actually. Yaks, we went twice, right?
Yeah.
Loved it. As a kid of the 80s, I hadn't seen an action movie like this on the big screen here. All on board. Loved it. Then it did not take itself silly. It did not present its action scenarios ironically. It played it very straightforward, very bloody, very violent, very just dripping in machismo and testosterone, lots of fist bumps, cigars, whiskey shot, get him, yeah, sucker. I mean, it was just everything we love about these movies. So then when Expendables 2 came out shortly after, they made some good decisions and some bad decisions. They got Simon West to direct it, who was a big action director in the day, did Con Air among other things, but they were smart. They brought in Jean-Claude Van Damme as the villain. They gave Arnold a much bigger role. They brought in Chuck Norris, which, yes, was heavy on the jokes, but also heavy on Chuck Norris shooting dudes.
Yeah.
It was much more comical in tone, but the scenes
Terry
with
Crews brewing his little coffee.
Dude, Terry Crews in his little coffee pot. But it was they went PG-13 to seemingly attract a larger box office, which backfired on them. Don't fuck with what works. People flocked to this because it was an R-rated action movie. They went PG-13, which made the action, you have to make it a little more comical, a little more lighter, a little less bloody. And when you've got Chuck Norris, Arnold, Bruce Willis just mowing dudes down with shotguns, and you're not seeing their guts and their faces explode, it's kind of a misstep. And it was a little too much on the winks at the audience. Like, you'd have like Arnold saying,
I'll be back.
I'll be back. And Bruce Willis,
you've been back enough.
You've been back enough. Like, come on. But I had fun with it. And tonally, it was very different from the first one, but I had fun with it. Skip ahead to the third one. Tonally, they tried to get back a little bit to the seriousness of the first one. They brought in a chewing the curtains off the walls manic villain performance from Mel Gibson, who was awesome in it. But
he was the saving grace of that
film. He was the saving grace of the film because that was the passing of the torch third film, where they brought in Ronda Rousey and Glenn Powell and all these young new Expendables and
the Twilight movies.
And the guy from the Twilight movie. And we weren't there. We're their audience for these movies, and we don't want to see these young people. We don't want to see the guy from the Twilight movies ride a dirt bike with a grenade launcher on his shoulder like that. I don't like young people. I don't want to see them do things in an action movie where I've got fucking Stallone and Arnold sitting right there. Like, you guys, I like you. Do that. I don't want to see these other new kids. So that was supposed to be, and they brought in Antonio Banderas as kind of comic relief. It was totally all over the place. And I agree with Yax. The saving grace was Mel Gibson was like angry, drunk, like on hidden camera.
Stonebanks!
Just like, oh, Stonebanks. Oh, show me your tits, sweet tits. Like just ugly, mean Mel Gibson. And it worked. He literally just blew everything else away. So you're like, okay, after the PG-13s 2 and 3 and the first one, we're still holding up to this standard of this is what we like, to get back to that. I don't know where you guys stand, but for me, I do know that all you guys said the same thing to me. You had no interest in seeing part 4. If I didn't make you watch it for this show, you probably, unless it was free and you were switching.
Just came on while I was sitting on the couch.
Just came on.
When they announced part 4, I watched the trailer like 3-4 times. And I just felt like just what I saw in the trailer, I was like, there's not going to be a actual live action anything. Oh, they'll be like there and you'll see them, but everything around them will be, it was in the trailer was fake. And just like everything in the movie is going to be fake.
Well, we're certainly going to get to that, Yax, and I couldn't agree more. And now, after that brilliant first film, which Stallone wrote and directed, and then the kind of mixed bag of 2 and the fairly shitty part 3, the powers that be decided that we now in part 4, or the Expendables, or the fourth entry in the Expendables franchise, we now get Megan Fox and 50 Cent introduced as the world's most battle-hardened mercenaries, and Dolph Lundgren looking like he scalped Kurt Cobain's corpse and put the hair on top of his head. That's what we get in part 4. Megan Fox, 50 Cent, and Dolph Lundgren with long curly blonde hair.
At what point, Cade, I'm assuming at some point, I know we're going to do this rather quickly, but at what point do we get to the part where I was already primed for Megan Fox as a battle-hardened mercenary because I'd seen it in another movie?
You know what? I'll tackle 50 Cent, and then I'll let you jump in right now with Megan Fox. Do you know that 50 cents is what happens when Jelly Roll sits on a nickel?
Mm-hmm. I am convinced that 50 Cent is in this movie just so they could get the rights to his song, and that was it.
I'm sorry, Tut. Groundbreaking country / R&B megastar Jelly Roll sits on a nickel. Does that make it work better?
Not
A
really.
little bit, but not much.
He's so big, he sits on a nickel and it turns into 50 cents.
No, I think we understood.
Getting closer.
I worked 3 days on that joke. That's why we're not doing the show anymore. You guys just validated that decision.
I laughed at the Dolph Lundgren,
You could
Kurt
have bought some of
Cobain
those
hair.
dice that have like words on it. You just like throw them down and like that would have been the joke.
No, I
Like,
went through
exactly.
several overweight celebrities, and I'm like, all right, the 169, it's got to be where you get into a 69 with an overweight celebrity. You elect to get on bottom and you die, so you only get 169. I went like, John Goodman? I was like, who's that Australian chick who used to be really fat, but now she's kind of skinny?
Can I volunteer that it wasn't the choice of celebrity that's the problem with the joke? It just seems like maybe, I don't know.
Mean?
I don't know. Yeah, I can't say that because I'm so mean about so many other things.
I can't say that, kid, because I'm a mean asshole.
Well, I wasn't gonna say asshole.
All right. Well, to your point, Doctor, now that we've established why 50 Cent was in there, which is only to use his song, and the guy's terrible on screen, let's be honest. No, he's not good. And I saw him in what was that prison movie with Stallone and Schwarzenegger where they were in the
No
in the,
Escape or Escape Plan.
yeah,
Escape
he was Stallone's tech guy, like the
I
computer.
was like, oh wait, he was in that?
Yeah, he was Stallone's tech wizard.
Didn't he do like a couple of direct to video Seagal stuff too?
Yeah, well,
Or EMD.
but
I thought that was Ja Rule or something.
no,
What?
that was Ja Rule actually, Doctor. But Doctor, I made a joke about Expendables 4 featuring Megan Fox as a battle-hardened mercenary. This isn't your first rodeo with her as a battle-hardened, combat-weary mercenary.
No, you and I have been joking about this for 2 years, I think, because at one point, sometimes these are things Cade and I will do. One of us will give the other a call, and I'll start flipping through the different streaming services and seeing what's out there. And a couple of years ago, I saw this picture of Megan Fox in like a, skin tight camouflage tank top, not something that's standard army issued, holding her machine gun, and it was called Rogue, and it describes Megan Fox as a battle-hardened mercenary. And so she's leading this Black Ops Special Forces team into darkest Africa to try and retrieve some like senators' kids before they can get kidnapped by traffickers. And then they can't escape and they get stuck on a game preserve. So it turns into a sci-fi channel movie where they're fighting CGI lions. And I said, this sounds so bad it could be good. And so Cade and I, this was before I even knew about Expendables 4. So I rented that like a year or so ago, and it was like stupidly fun. But what Cade and I were joking about was here's this just phenomenally beautiful woman, and looks like she should be on a runway in Milan or Paris.
Not even
And
that. Not even that, dude. She's this kind of weird thing where she could do that, but she could also be an adult film star. She could also be the hot chick working at your local waitress at your she literally is
she's
like,
hot. She's hot in the way that like Pamela Anderson was hot 30 years ago on
yeah,
Baywatch.
it's literally one of those hots where when she walks in a
Stupid
room,
hot.
every man just stops because their muscles are completely useless.
Push your date out of the way. You're like, forget this. We're that good. So then here's the thing, right? This was my favorite part about Rogue, and this is where I was kind of prepared for how stupid Expendables 4 was going to be. What do the writers and director decide? We've got this just smoking hot chick, porno hot, beautiful hot. What are we going to do to make her look like a battle-hard mercenary? I got an idea. Go ahead, Johnson. Put a New York Yankees cap on her?
Backwards or forwards?
Backwards, sir. Johnson, that's fucking brilliant.
No,
Her
wait,
makeup will be the same. Her hair will be styled the same. She's still hot. Tight
wait,
clothes that don't,
wait.
but a
When
Yankees
she
cap.
when she shoots from her sniper rifle, does she turn the Yankees cap backwards?
No, it's backwards the whole way.
Oh,
We've got
okay.
to see her face.
Yeah, you don't cover that face.
Yeah, you're not covering that face.
No.
Hey,
That
hey, Mr. Carruthers, if you like that, I've got a really good idea for a sitcom. I'm calling it George and Mandy's First Marriage. My God, Johnson, did you hear what he just said? Fucking brilliant. We'll
from
get
the produ-
78 from CBS.
from the producers who brought you So Help Me Todd.
So I had already seen the whole. So she's already saying things in Rogue. She's walking around with her microphone. The whole thing is the backwards Yankees cap. That's it. Otherwise, she looks like she's walked off a Maxim photo shoot. What's your 20? Let's just start laughing. So when she says in Expendables 4, our evac will be by Hilo. I've already heard this shit. I knew what I was getting into here.
See, I think you benefited from that because you'd been softened to that kind of experience. I hadn't. So when she starts killing dudes and being this cocky, badass mercenary, I'm out, man. I'm out because I'm going back to what the precedent of that first film. And you've got Mickey Rourke telling these stories about Laos, and you believe him. And you've got Stallone, and you know it's Mickey Rourke, and you know it's Stallone, but these old bastards have been doing this so long, and you've seen them in so many action movies, you go with it. And we really picked fun at that in our Unreliable spoof. But I don't believe it's a real problem in a movie where you don't believe anything about one of the main characters.
And I'm not saying that enhanced. As I said, I think I mentioned to you the other day. My word at Expendables 4 was I had no expectations. As you mentioned talking to us, I had no real desire to ever see the movie. I expected it to be cartoonish, and so it was. And so I just kind of laughed at the whole stupidity of it.
I didn't, because they've all been so different. I actually held out a little bit of hope. Okay, Stallone's almost 80 now. Is he going to bring this shit back to what made the original so great? But it's actually spelled out for us in the first few seconds of this movie. We're thrust out into the desert where we view a giant CGI series of enormous steel warehouses. And the subtitle reads, Libya, Gaddafi's old chemical plant. Really? We could have just a touch of formality even with the subtitles? Gaddafi's old chemical, you can't say like former chemical plant of no, his old chemical plant. The subtitles The
All
subtitles
it
were
needed to be
as
said was Libya.
Right, exactly. Jack's
You know,
right. All you had to do
it
was
could have been
Libya.
like, 1600 Zulu Libya,
the
whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
the subtitles were just as lazy as everything else in this movie. It's his old chemical. What do you want us to say about this place? We're typing the subtitles. Well, I don't know. It's Gaddafi's old chemical plant. I'll just type that. These fuckers just don't give a shit. They don't give a shit from the opening scene. If you told me back in 2010 we would get a new Expendable when me and Yax went to the theater twice, that we would get a new Expendables movie that put me to literal sleep, I'd tell you to fuck off with that negative noise. But here we are, 14 years later. I literally passed out unconscious. Now, granted, I'd had like 3 margaritas earlier in the evening, and I was just sipping on some bourbon. I had some Knob Creek and Coke Zero while I was watching the movie. But I fell asleep watching Expendables 4. And because this is our last episode, I said, fuck it. I ain't renting this piece of goddamn shit again. They already got my $5. It's our last show. There's no way I'm resubjecting myself to this nonsense for a second screening. So yeah, we're going to talk about it a little bit, but my memory is shit because this movie's full of holes and full of shit. And
I was drunk.
No, I was buzzing.
Now, see, the funny thing is that I was so tired, and I was like, "All right, I'll give this thing a shot." And I had no preconceptions going into it. I didn't even watch the trailer. I mean, when you told me that Megan Fox was going to be in it, I was like, "Yeah, that was all I needed to know." And so I had no desire to watch it. I didn't watch anything, but I was just tired. I plugged it in. I actually had fun with it because I didn't hold it to anything. It is lazy. It is just barely, barely a product. But I still had fun. There was still some moments in it. There was one moment in particular that just I was actually laughing my balls off on it. I'm a sucker for Jason Statham. That dude still looks good in a fight. There was some moves he was doing on a catwalk that was almost like the
Okay.
old transporter days, where it was just
No,
that full slide that he was doing.
I'll say
He
this.
carried the film. So
I'll say this.
You didn't
I've seen
carry
a
it.
lot of Jason Statham movies. His worst acting I've ever seen has been in the 4 Expendables films. He's not
yeah,
he's
that's
not
fair.
given, oh, Barney, you crazy bastard. It's all that kind of schmucky stuff. But there was one scene the whole ending takes place on this giant freight liner out at sea. There's one scene where Barney Stallone supposedly dies in the opening scene. So Statham, his best friend, no, he wasn't my friend, he was my brother. He's out for revenge. Dude, there's like a 3-minute scene where he goes around stabbing every dude on this boat. It's like Michael Myers on steroids. Like he literally through the neck. He'll
Oh,
slice
that
in
one
the
kill where
face, he's just
the
like,
guy was walking down the stairs and he grabs him and jabs it through the throat. I thought that was a creative kill. I really liked it.
he's like cutting dudes hamstrings so they fall, and as they fall he stabs them in the face. Like it's crazy. That was the only. I felt sorry for Statham because I've seen him. I mean, let's be honest here, and I say this as a man wearing a beret, so I think I can relate a little bit to Jason Statham. It's not the only thing we have in common, boys. um his worst work in his filmography that I've seen is in the Expendables movies. I've seen him in Agent Fortune. The guy doesn't have great range. He's not gonna win an Oscar.
I
He's
don't care.
Jason,
I love the note that he gives.
but you know what I love about him is he's unique because he's a really cool guy, but he's not Steve McQueen cool. He's really talented on-screen fighter, but I don't know as an English guy from those early Guy Ritchie movies that he could really fight that way outside of him. Like, I don't know exactly what Statham is, but I'm comfortable that he knows who he is. And he seems to be pretty cool, just kind of doing his thing. It's not cocky like
I like him.
he doesn't have the he doesn't have
He's
the
confident.
he doesn't have the cockiness of Seagal. He doesn't have the kind of he's just kind of this weird character in action movies, but I generally like him, except in these fucking movies, because he's just you know, I was gonna use me brass knuckles, you fuck. Like it's just so stupid. He says that to Stallone after Stallone reappears from the dead in a helicopter and mows down Andy Garcia in half with a machine gun. Don't get me started on Andy Garcia as Ocelot. Give me a break. I've never liked Andy Garcia in a movie, and this movie
Okay,
did
but also I
nothing.
have to ask the question.
I have
Why
liked Andy Garcia.
Ocelot?
And
That
at
was my
this,
number
I
one
was
thing.
like,
Like, we've got to take down Ocelot. That's not really a scary villain name, you know?
What?
It's
See, you went
it's
Eric
not
Roberts.
Stonebang.
it's like the opposite of True Lies. They call him the Sand Spider. Why? Because it sounds scary.
You went
Oh,
Eric
why do they call him the
Roberts,
Ocelot? I have no fucking idea. It is nothing. It's
Because you
like a
want to
tiny
pet him.
cat.
Van Damme, Mel Gibson, Andy Garcia.
Andy Garcia is the Ocelot. Um,
But to be
cartoon.
fair, Cade, we did see Andy Garcia when we were at New Orleans for Mardi Gras. He was on the parade right in front of the hotel.
Oh, that's right. Out our window, we did see Andy Garcia. He was one of the main Mardi Gras captains.
Because when I actually saw that it was Andy Garcia on screen, I was like, "Hey, I've seen that guy."
Yeah. Now, if we go back
Not
to
as
New Orleans
impressive.
and we see him again, I'm gonna throw a beer at his head.
That would be nice.
Look,
Oh,
He's
cartoon
there for the paycheck. It saddens me.
cartoon video game.
everybody there in this movie was there for the paycheck.
First,
Well,
first,
actually, what I hear, Stallone doesn't pay that much on it.
first of all, I say cartoon video game quality. That's not giving Call of Duty credit.
Yeah,
Those video games look more realistic than 75%
this was bad, man.
of this film. The planes aren't real when they're in them. The helicopters are straight out of a early 2000s video game. Even when they're in the helicopter, the ground underneath them is fake. Everything looks totally fabricated and
Here's one thing. The very first time that you're introduced to Megan Fox's character, they're having her and Statham are having a blowout, and they're fighting,
Whoa.
and and she comes to the door,
eat
and
my balls.
they put a de-aging filter on her to where her face was just basically like just one giant Gaussian blur.
Yeah,
And
everybody had that filter.
And this was the first time that I noticed it just so hard, because I've literally had that in our office and I wouldn't let it go out of the office because I was like, this looks fake. It looks terrible. There's nobody that's going to believe this. It's not leaving this room. My quality control wouldn't let that get on screen. Yet with her, they did. And I was just kind of like, I mean, did she have a black eye that day?
No.
Tut,
I have a theory. I think they left that smoothing kind of fake because half their cast is approaching 80. Stallone, Garcia, Dolph.
Sorry, Dolph looked like a corpse in a Kurt Cobain.
They're also old. They're like, hey,
I love Dolph.
But I think they're like, hey, we have this special filter that'll make you guys not look like zombies. Should we take it off when we film the young people? And they're like, just leave it on.
That costs too much.
Everybody looks fake in this movie. Everything looks fake in this movie. It looks like a bad video game.
At this point, the only thing I can think that would have helped Fox would be they should have just gave her an eye patch. Like, I'm a mercenary. You have no scars. You have nothing. You need something.
That would have worked
Don't you
worse
cover?
than the backwards Yankees cap.
Yeah, don't you cover up?
Beautiful
And
section
plus,
for an eye
don't
patch.
plus don't you cover up that face?
Hey, what if she had an eye patch over one of her boobs?
That works
I
too.
think I think she did at one time.
Matching. And they need to
She
be like,
she
like
caught a
matching. One
she caught
here,
a
then one, you know.
yeah, she caught a bullet in Afghanistan in her left tit.
They may as well have had her wearing like a thong and a band-aid over each nipple and some thigh-high nylon boots. I mean, it makes just as much sense as anything else. And of course, the backwards Yankees cap shows that she's down and dirty.
Well, of course.
Look,
What's your
I'm just
future
saying,
Well,
a
budget?
it
woman
was
with an
just.
eye
I mean,
patch.
the hard thing is that when the Expendables first came out, it was a breath of fresh air because we got to see our testosterone driven action heroes of the 80s back on the screen again. But now those action heroes of the 80s are 80s and they can't really do anything. I mean, that's the reason why Stallone wasn't in it. I mean, Stallone can't perform those scenes. He did like one little backflip and that he was out for the rest of the movie. And that's why I say Statham had to carry the movie because he was the only one that was like physically capable of doing some of this stuff. None of the other older guys are able to. There were some things that they wanted to try to do that I wish they would have expanded on. I like the whole thing of Dolph being sober and therefore unable to shoot. I thought that would be funny if they played up with that, especially at the end when he does take a drink. It's like, I'm back. They should have had him like just get into a drunken stupor on that plane, drop him off, and then just be like drunken master just mowing people down through that. That would have made it funny. There was some stuff that was like, there was a little nuggets of ideas that would have worked, but like you said, I think the theme throughout the entire thing is just how lazy they were with all of this.
I watched a making of featurette on YouTube of Expendables or Expendables 4 or the fourth entry in the Expendables franchise, where the director was bragging about how he likes to shoot everything practical, keep things as real as possible. And he was even throwing shade at other movies like, it's so easy to do everything with your visual effects team after the fact. I like to do it on set. And I'm like,
What was done on set?
I'm like, what fucking goddamn, I'm not an idiot. What goddamn bizarro world am I living in that you're going to say that like with a straight face? I just watched your movie, dude. It's the fakest looking thing I've ever seen from opening to close. It's crazy how what you're
That
saying.
they were standing next to was real and it fell over.
Man, I felt so bad. There's one part where Dolph gives the Thor kick that Stallone wanted in the first one, in the making of the first film. He was like, "No, you have to kick it like Thor. Just really kick it." And so there, when Dolph takes his drink and he does the Thor kick, it's like kneecap high level of a kick. It's almost like Keith Richards from the Stones doing a kick now. It's like barely a foot off the ground, and I was just like,
Well, look, this whole movie looked more artificial than that long-haired wig Dolph Lundgren wore through the whole fucking thing. Um, I'm glad.
Circle.
I'm glad that, yeah,
Guys falling off Road Warrior. Guys are falling off motorcycles.
yeah.
There's no green screening.
In Expendables 4, I'm convinced there was no actual motorcycles on set.
yeah, or motorcycle riders.
Yeah. Well, dude, I'm glad that maybe having seen Rogue and you came into it with a very different mindset than I did, Doctor. I'm glad that, hey, I'm just here to hopefully maybe have some fun. I'm not expecting anything.
I expected to suck.
Because this franchise was so all over the place, I was kind of hoping, even knowing about Megan Fox and 50 Cent, that they would find a way to kind of, because it went back to being R-rated. This one went back to being R-rated. That maybe Stallone had some tricks up his sleeve, but he didn't write this thing. He didn't direct it. He just showed up and said a few things. And Tut, you said you kind of had fun with it, but you're so fried from school and stuff. Like,
That's true. Well, in fairness, the whole social media scene at the pool when they kick Statham off of the Expendables and he gets hired out by some douchebag YouTuber to be their security, and there's this scene where the YouTuber's filming Statham, and all of a sudden you just see the camera just smack him in the face, and he just starts beating the crap out of him. And then if you start reading the text that of all the YouTuber comments, you
yeah.
see a bunch of like eggplant emojis come up. One comment is like, "I'm pregnant now." It was just there was just some funny shit going on in
Yeah,
that, and I thought it was
actually,
a cool little sequence. And it was the only part of the movie that I literally laughed my ass off at.
was asleep for that. I don't remember that part. And I'm not going to go back and revisit it. But it sounds I hey, doctor, you can test. Nobody loves an eggplant emoji more than me. I'm sending
I
you
think
like
that I think
I'm
that's
sending you
why
like
I
10 of
liked
those a
it so
day.
much. I think that's why I liked it so much because it reminded me of y'all on football nights.
Yeah, we send a lot of eggplant emojis. Well, look, boys, as I said earlier, the reason I selected my beer was because it was the first IPA that I ever drank on episode 2. And the reason I selected this movie is because we featured the first 3 Expendables films on our very first episode. Our first episode, just 3 months shy of 10 years ago. We did all 3 films. We kind of did an overview and we had fun. We are still kind of finding our not that's generous. We didn't know what we were doing. We were just talking and smoking and drinking, and we figured if we do this enough times, we'll figure it out, and we did. Uh, and unlike the Expendables franchise, I want the Tuesday Night Cigar Club to go out on a high note. I want to stop this thing before the moment arrives where we're not having fun anymore. And so that's it. We're done. This is it. After 10 years of doing this, was the juice worth the squeeze? As a cigar nerd, I got to check every box on my list of favorite cigar makers that we got to talk to. Over the years, we've interviewed Jonathan Drew multiple times, Steve Saka too many times to count, Pete Johnson, Matt Booth, Juan Martinez, Daniel Marshall, Robert Caldwell, Willie Herrera, former CRA President Glenn Loop actually, for some reason, agreed to talk to us, and many others. And we also can't forget Roma Craft Tobacco's Skip Martin and Mike Rosales. While we far from agreed on everything, I think the Roma boys would agree that we always had a good time when our camps collided. And they were the first ever company to reach out and ask us to do a show with us. They requested it. So that was absolutely a monumental moment for us out at TJ Cigar Lounge in McGregor, Texas. And it led to many other memorable podcasts as their guests at Roma HQ. We also interviewed many folks just as they were beginning their journeys into the premium cigar industry, such as Robert and Sharon Holt. We were their first interview at Cats Fest when they introduced Southern Draw. Oscar Valladares, Black Label Trading Companies, James Brown. They started 1 year before us. So we've it's been inspiring watching these little brands grow and thrive right along with us. This podcast and the hard work it takes to produce it led us to tour all of Drew Estate's Barn Smoker events with DE's amazing team. For 2 years in a row, we fucking loaded up, mounted up our gear, and we went to Florida, Louisiana, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, Kentucky. So many good times, so many blurry memories. I honestly thought about this last show about just telling stories, but there's too many, and they kind of come in because we drink so much. They kind of come in, oh shit, I remember that, and
fuzziness.
Then but yeah, I remember me, Tut, and Yak Boy leaving a cigar lounge at 2 a.m. in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and we're pulling out of the parking lot, and there's some skateboarders out there, and I had a banana in the car from our Hotel Continental breakfast that morning, and for some reason, I just fucking rolled down the window and flung that banana out the window and knocked that fucker off his skateboard, and we laughed our asses off all the way to the hotel. He was fine, by the way. He was
You're
totally
now
fine.
going to be arrested for a felony.
Oh man, you remember
I
when we interviewed Matt Booth and he brought that jewel encrusted dildo out?
Yeah, he
And
went
that
into his
was
closet and pulled out a jewel, like a diamond encrusted dildo out.
like, you are our people.
There's a million stories we could tell, and we have told. The TNCC also provided Yak Boy and I with an amazing opportunity to travel down to Nicaragua in 2020 and attend Drew Estate's unparalleled experience, the Cigar Safari, as their guest. The trip was a true cigar lover's wet dream. And for me personally, it was the pinnacle. It's one of those moments that I've had a few of them since we started this thing where I looked over at Yak Boy and I'm like, we're looking over the deck of the Drew Estate Mansion. We're standing by the Liga Privada pool. And I looked over at Yaks and I'm like, holy shit. Can you believe we're here right now? And he's like, no. Like, us talking about cigars, beers, and movies got us here somehow. And that was just I still get all up in my feels thinking about it. Then we went to Vegas, IPCPR 2018. I mentioned it earlier. We're hired to serve as the videography team for Drew Estate, whether it was interviewing dozens of retailers about their passion for the DE brand or capturing that uber cool moment when rapper Rick Ross came in to meet JD and hug. I got a fist bump from Rick Ross. That was an experience that the TNCC is never going to forget. I want to give a shout out to JD, Jonathan Drew, and Joe Grow. We had their unwavering support. We had their trust for those years, and the memories that came from that. I think I speak for us all. I'm eternally grateful. We got to do some really cool shit that I never envisioned us doing when we started this. We also had amazing conversation with filmmakers I've long admired. Remember when we talked to J.R. Bookwalter, the director of The Dead Next Door, one of those movies back in college I watched weekly. And my personal favorite TNCC interview of all time when we talked to the legendary Billy Gould of Faith No More. I am well aware
Yeah, you
because
were like a kid in a candy store right there.
I am well aware, mainly due to our YouTube comments, that I am not the best interviewer known to man. But I was Barbara fucking Walters that night with Billy, and we never did an interview since because there's no interview I could do as good. That was it for me. I met one of my childhood heroes. We talked for 2 hours about cigars and his booze and about my favorite band. None of that would ever happen if we hadn't started this thing that we do. So this podcast has been a shit ton of work, but the experiences and the memories earned have made it absolutely worth it. And I think our original mission statement of bringing the world of premium tobacco, premium cigars to those that aren't familiar with it was mostly successful. We talk about movies and we talk about everything in between movies and current events and beer, and then we kind of weasel in these cigars. And there's been multiple times over the last 10 years where people have said, man, I tuned into your podcast because I wanted to hear you guys talk about this movie, and you guys were praising the way you described the cigars and the flavors and all that. I never smoked a cigar in my life, and I went out to see if I could find one. Like, that was part of the thing, was to bring our subculture to people that would never reach otherwise. And hey, man, as of today, 1,917,960, that's almost 2 fucking million YouTube viewers have checked us out over the years. We'll probably be at 2 million just doing nothing through the end of the year. That's pretty fucking cool. And it's a testament to what every one of us brought to the table 169 times and counting. French composer Philippe Leroux says that every great, memorable piece of music needs that one moment of madness. And I think it's safe to say we've had at least 169 moments of madness here. Actually, it's probably 10 times that at least, if not more. It's been a fun ride. And while we will continue to keep the website active, I will continue reviewing cigars on the website. If the doctor feels compelled to put pen to paper after watching a movie or reading a book, his writing always has a home. The TNCC is not dead, but for what we do here and what we've been doing here for 10 years, it feels like a good time to stop. And yeah, a lot of mixed feelings, but ultimately, yeah, it's been fun. And I want to thank you boys for everything. I mean, this is a 4-man operation, and we Jesus Christ, we've had some good times. And forget Vegas, forget Nicaragua, forget everything. 169 times we sat and did this, what we did tonight, and nobody makes me laugh like you guys. And nobody makes me think about a movie that I think I completely got figured out until you guys tell me different. And we, it's, I'm going to miss that. But at the same time, we're going to keep going. We might show up here and there. We might pop up in a different kind of capacity or a different kind of thing. I'm not ruling anything out, but it's been cool. So I'm grateful for it. And I hope you folks at home, if you're still sticking around at this point, I want to thank you too, because it's nice to know we're not just talking to ourselves. We'd still do it if we were, but it's always nice to know that we weren't, for the most part. So yeah, I'm not going to get any sappier than that. Tut, give us some links for the last time. Don't screw it up. Give us some links.
Does it matter?
Well, yeah, the links are still good.
So if you want to,
we're going away. The links aren't.
If you want to, all right. First of all, join us up on YouTube, Tuesday Night Cigar Club. You can hit us up on Facebook, Tuesday Night Cigar Club.
Forget the YouTube one. We're not going to be doing any more stuff.
That's what I was wondering.
Instagram will still be active.
So yeah, go at TNCC_podcast for Instagram. But the cool thing is for right now, as far as I know, if you like any of the cigars that we did tonight, get some of these nice Saka cigars or any cigar that you want, actually, you can go to the TuesdayNightCigarClub.com website, click on the Famous Smoke Shop banner, it automatically enters the promo code TNCC for you. So do your shopping there. You get $20 off of any order over 100, and do it fast. I don't know how long that's going to last, but right now.
I would like to clarify that. I talked to our friends at Famous Smoke Shop. Now that we're stopping the podcast, if you enter promo code TNCC20 at checkout, it will actually add $20 to your cart.
Sure how that works, but
not sure how that works, but no, the promo code's still good. We're still going to be reviewing cigars on the website, hopefully some movies and books when the doctor gets the urge. It's the shop is not closed. The shop is just taking a break, and I think after 10 years we fucking deserve it. So you know what, we might pop up again down the road, as I said, or we may not. So let's not say goodbye. Let's rather say goodbye for now. Does that work?
Well, we're not saying goodbye. I'll see y'all later on in the week.
No, Tud, I'm saying goodbye. Like, we're done.
Oh, you mean we can't meet up and talk about football and stuff?
No, if I have a problem with the website or something, I'll text you, but This is over. It's played. It's played out. Oh God, now I've hurt his feelings. I was hoping we could talk about this privately after the show. Yes, of course.
Why don't you get Samuel to come and do your website tech, huh?
I would, but he's
pretty handy in the dark room.
You got a point.
I actually did bring him in for some consulting, but he stepped on my feet with those giant shoes. It is goodbye for now, but continue to check out the Tuesday Night Cigar Club website. It will be updated frequently with reviews. And like I said, what the future holds, who knows? But 10 years is a pretty damn good run. I'm proud of it. May the wings of liberty never lose a feather. Sayonara, motherfuckers. The end.
To learn more about the time I walked away from a lucrative passion project of my own, when I knew it in my heart that the timing was right, please watch the recent YouTube documentary produced about yours truly entitled Cobra Nopra, How One Clueless Putz Blew It Big Time. That title actually seems more harsh than I remember after reading it out loud. You see, back in 1983, I auditioned to be a voice actor for an upcoming cartoon series called G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero. After a week of grueling vocal auditions, the producers offered me the lead role of Cobra Commander. My talents would be required for every episode of the series, a series that would result in 96 episodes over the next 3 years. It was every voice actor's dream come true, a professional and financial windfall. But I wanted to be the voice of Gung Ho. How could they not know that? I literally showed up for the audition every day in my light blue cami pants with my cool tactical assault vest unzipped to show off the Marine tattoo I had drawn with a marker on my exposed chest. I mean, who else other than Gung Ho could I have been there for? Well, I could see maybe Roadblock or Dial Tone, the G.I. Joe team's highly reliable communications expert, but not fucking Cobra Commander. Cobra Commander! So I walked away from the opportunity and I never looked back. That's called integrity, folks. Although in an interesting twist, I would end up playing the role of the maniacal Dr. Mindbender in an unlicensed G.I. Joe stage play several years later titled Beachhead and Snowjob Go to Vegas. And as you are certainly imagining now, I sure did give those two Joes the business. I should probably mention that the stage for that particular stage play was in actuality my living room, and I performed the roles of both Beachhead, the Joe Team Sergeant Major, and Snowjob, the team's original Arctic Trooper. Switching between the characters wasn't as tricky as it would seem because, Beachhead wore a ski mask all the time, and I threw on a sweet, fake red mustache for my Snowjob portrayal. As for my take on Dr. Mindbender, well, let's just say it made some penises in the audience bend, if you get my drift. Yeah, that cost me a whole lot of friendships. And Joe. Damn, I'm gonna miss sharing all these stories with y'all. But anyhow, if you do want to learn about the cigars enjoyed on tonight's episode, please just visit dunbartoncigars.com. For more on O'Brien's Irish Pub, the live music leader in Central Texas, please visit o'brienstemple.com and download their free smartphone app, where you'll find full beer listings including over 40 on tap, menu information, and a calendar of upcoming live events. To listen and purchase music heard on tonight's program, check out www.fritzbeermusic.com. Thank you for listening to the Tuesday Night Cigar Club podcast. This is Keith A. Howell saying until next time, friends, unless we see you sooner at the pub. So keep it smoky, and for God's sake, keep it ballsy as well.
Cobra! Cobra!
God, that hurts.
Cobra! 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 Cobra!